Chapter 331. If one were to talk about popularity, the barbarians of the Shuangjin dynasty were the least liked. Chen Guanshan maintained a sneer on his face when he sensed the hostile gazes around him. He had no intention of explaining himself. The Fish King turned its head and glanced at Chen Guanshan. A murderous intent flashed in its scarlet eyes. Although its body was strong enough to withstand Chen Guanshan's attack, the feeling of being almost torn apart was not a pleasant one. Therefore, when the Fish King saw the sneer on Chen Guanshan's face at the moment, it immediately became angrier. Chen Guanshan's movements suddenly froze when he sensed the aura emanating from the Fish King. A thin layer of cold sweat even appeared on his forehead. Chen Guanshan clenched his teeth and all the muscles in his body instantly tensed up. He did his best to resist the cold murderous intent coming from the Fish King. Lin Yuan saw that the situation was not good. He appeared beside Chen Guanshan in a flash. His heterochromatic eyes also fell on the Fish King. Wisps of dragon might emanated from his body, counteracting the murderous intent on the Fish King. The two Fish Kings entered the battlefield one after the other. The Heaven's Strength Realm experts, who had been keeping quiet, could no longer sit still. They had no choice but to roll up their sleeves and fight the other Fish King with their best skills. After all, if they left the Fish King alone, it was obvious that it was enough to cause great casualties to the airborne realm cultivators on the front lines. In this unknown secret realm, anyone's hands were precious. Even if they were just going out to scout, they could still pave a safe way out by sacrificing their lives. "That black rope of yours is?" A look of surprise flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes as he asked. Someone like Chen Guanshan would not do anything unnecessary. Since he tied the black rope to the Fish King's tail before he made his move, that black rope must have its own function. War shackles. "I got it from the black market." Chen Guanshan replied with a smile. Then, his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, "Once the war chain is wrapped around the combatants, it will end in a fight to the death. Otherwise, no one will be able to untie this black rope. Similarly, no one will be able to leave the range of this black rope." Lin Yuan raised his eyelids to express his understanding. Although the shackles of strife had many drawbacks, it was still a good strategy against an opponent who excelled in speed. It was just that the price of fighting to the death was too great. If not for the fact that the Fish King's target was Lin Yuan and that Chen Guanshan had stopped the Fish King, Lin Yuan might not have interfered. From the moment Chen Guanshan made his move, he was betting that Lin Yuan would not stand by and do nothing. Human nature was complicated, let alone a demonic beast with an unstable mind. The fact that Chen Guanshan could trust Lin Yuan, a demonic beast, was beyond Lin Yuan's expectations. However, while Lin Yuan was still pondering, a black shadow suddenly swept over in front of him. Lin Yuan subconsciously swung his snake tail fiercely. The Fish King clearly did not expect Lin Yuan's reaction to be so fast. In addition, it was moving at such a high speed that it could not dodge at all. It could only take the full brunt of Lin Yuan's snake tail. The snake tail was like a steel whip as it lashed the Fish King's body. Immediately, that huge fish head caved in. 1/3 of the entire skull was sunken, but such an injury did not take the life of the Fish King. The silver-white fish body struggled frantically, and the swinging tail slapped with a terrifying force. Even if Lin Yuan wanted to give the Fish King another stab, he could not get close to it, so he had to look at Chen Guanshan. Chen Guanshan shrugged his shoulders, and an apologetic smile appeared on his face. It was true that he was proficient in hidden weapons, but he had used all his strength to injure the Fish King. Right now, he did not have much strength left, and his earth chi had been squeezed to the point that not a single drop was left. If not for that, how could he have been frozen by the Fish King's cold killing intent? As time passed, the Fish King's injuries healed bit by bit, and the extent of its struggling also slowed down. Lin Yuan saw the opportunity, and his snake body shot out like a bolt of lightning. Its bloody mouth opened wide, and its pair of poisonous fangs flickered with a frightening cold light. It was not that he did not want to use his innate ability to kill the Fish King. However, even if Lin Yuan did not use his innate ability, the Fish King, as a watertight monster, would naturally be on guard against the move that Lin Yuan had used to kill so many small silver-white fish. Thus, Lin Yuan could not control the water around the Fish King at all. Naturally, he could not control the water around the Fish King as he wished. The moment Lin Yuan's fangs were about to reach the Fish King, the Fish King's injuries had completely healed. With a swing of its tail, it once again pulled away from Lin Yuan. Its scarlet eyes carried a hint of mockery, as if it knew all about Lin Yuan's little trick. In the next moment, the war chain in Chen Guanshan's hand was stretched taut. However, no matter how the Fish King moved its body, it could only maintain a distance of less than 100 meters from Chen Guanshan. At this moment, the Fish King's eyes revealed a hint of urgency. After that short exchange, it had already confirmed that it was no match for Lin Yuan. Thus, the Fish King planned to temporarily leave this damned place and wait for a chance to take revenge in the future. However, it did not expect that it could not escape the control of the war chain at all. As Lin Yuan and Chen Guanshan's conversation had been carried out using their minds, the Fish King actually did not know what was restricting it. However, this did not mean that the Fish King was stupid. The black rope on its body was stretched taut, and it was probably because of the black rope that it couldn't move more than 100 meters away from it. Therefore, the Fish King quickly fixed its gaze on Chen Guanshan. Chen Guanshan shook the black rope in his hand, and a dangerous smile appeared on his face. He said in a cold voice, "Big fish, we are now enemies. If you don't kill me, don't even think about leaving this area." The Fish King's eyes turned cold. Just as it was about to attack, its gaze stopped on Lin Yuan. This black snake was more difficult to deal with than it had imagined. "Black Snake, you and I are both demonic beasts. We should help each other." "Why, help these humans?" The Fish King moved its gaze away from Chen Guanshan and said slowly, "Helping these humans is of no benefit to you. This king can give you another chance. As long as you are willing to leave this battlefield, this king will pretend that nothing happened. How about it? If we are fated to meet again in the future, this king can even give you a big gift." Using righteousness and enticement was a trick that had been used many times outside. However, when the Fish King used it, Lin Yuan did not feel strange at all. It was as if this was what the Fish King should do. Chapter 332. Demonic beasts in the mystic realm weren't stupid, they were just arrogant. The Fish King had been so confident in its victory that it didn't even care about Lin Yuan's battle prowess. But now that it was forced into a corner, if the Fish King still didn't know how to rope in Lin Yuan, it probably wouldn't be able to live long enough to become an intelligence realm class 10 demonic beast. Chen Guanshan sneered as he sized up the Fish King. The mockery in his eyes was almost tangible. He carefully investigated the black serpent. Unlike the condescending investigation of the embroidered guard, he put himself in the black serpent's perspective and pondered little by little. The final conclusion was that the black serpent was a terrifying existence because it never did unnecessary things. For example, at this moment, if Lin Yuan intended to join forces with the Fish King, it would not have chosen to stand on the side of humans from the beginning. Now that the Fish King was at a disadvantage, it was even more impossible for Lin Yuan to stand on its side. Lin Yuan didn't respond to the Fish King, nor did he have any intention of speaking. He just stood quietly beside Chen Guanshan. A Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator's recovery speed was very fast. In about 7 or 8 breaths, Chen Guanshan would be able to recover some of his battle prowess. At that time, it would be easy for them to join forces and kill the Fish King. And with Chen Guanshan's help, Lin Yuan's following arrangements would be much smoother. As for the Fish King, it was just a verbal agreement. Once Lin Yuan helped them win the battle, it wouldn't be impossible for them to treat Lin Yuan as food. After all, in the world of demonic beasts, the strong preyed on the weak. Dead existences were quickly forgotten and wouldn't affect the victor at all. "Black Serpent, I can sense the Flood Dragon's bloodline in your body. As long as you help me, I swear on my cultivation that I will help you break through the bloodline shackles and become a true Flood Dragon. How about it?" Seeing that Lin Yuan wasn't moved, the Fish King quickly threw out its biggest bargaining chip. This mystic realm had a way to transform a dragon bloodline demonic beast into a flood dragon. Lin Yuan was certain of this. After all, there were at least 7 or 8 flood dragons in the territory next to the Fish King. This bloodline shackle wasn't something that could be broken so easily. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's breathing quickened. However, Lin Yuan quickly regained his composure. The opportunity to transform into a flood dragon had always been in his hands. Although the woman surnamed Zhen and her husband were dead, and the previous mission had disappeared from the mission list, after the incense model was activated, as long as he accumulated believers and accumulated more incense power, the system would inevitably unlock various sub-functions for him to consume incense power. Therefore, Lin Yuan was not in a hurry at all. Have you rested well? After calming down, Lin Yuan looked at Chen Guanshan and asked softly. Chen Guanshan pondered for a moment, then slowly nodded and said, I still have the strength for one more attack. Moreover, my body has absorbed enough spiritual energy to reach saturation. If this attack doesn't hit, don't count on me. A Heaven's Dipper realm cultivator could absorb spiritual energy from heaven and earth constantly to replenish themselves. However, there was always a limit to the amount of spiritual energy they could absorb. If Qin Guanshan consumed spiritual energy to temper his body and meridians bit by bit, it would be fine. However, in this kind of high-intensity battle, Qin Guanshan had absorbed an enormous amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth. It had even reached a state where his meridians were somewhat overloaded. If he recklessly continued to absorb spiritual energy, then his meridians would very likely collapse and he would directly be reduced to a cripple. The strength for one attack was already something he gritted his teeth and speculated. He was even taking a huge risk. The slightest carelessness could cause his meridians to collapse. However, the Fish King threw out such a huge bargaining chip. If he didn't do as Lin Yuan wished, then Lin Yuan might really give up on his cooperation with the Fish King. Enough. Lin Yuan nodded slightly and softly muttered. As his voice fell, Lin Yuan's snake body shot out like an arrow. The Fish King's speed was indeed very fast. Without entering the state of blood boil, Lin Yuan really didn't have much confidence in catching up to the Fish King. However, the Fish King's range of movement was restricted by the war chain. This was a different situation. Qin Guanshan still had the strength for one more attack. If the Fish King rashly approached Qin Guanshan, it would definitely be heavily injured by this attack. At that time, Lin Yuan could easily kill it. Just like how there was a limit to the amount of spiritual energy Qin Guanshan could absorb, Lin Yuan didn't believe that the Fish King's terrifying self-healing ability had no limit. This king hasn't said anything yet. Do you really think this king is a small fry that you can order around? A pair of heterochromatic vertical pupils fixed on the Fish King. Lin Yuan's pupils blossomed with a golden light. His ice-cold voice contained an unquestionable majesty. Most of the silver fish had been killed by the cultivators. The other Fish King, who had broken out with extreme speed and barely escaped from the encirclement of several Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators, retreated for a distance under the leadership of the other Fish King. Although they were still eyeing this side covetously, everyone could see that the battle between Lin Yuan and the Fish King had decided the following situation. If the Fish King died here, then even if the Fish King was unwilling, they would have to retreat and regroup. However, if the Fish King killed Qin Guanshan under Lin Yuan's nose and successfully broke out of the encirclement, then their every move would be closely watched by these silver fish. If they revealed a little flaw, they would be attacked by these two Fish Kings using their strange speed. When the Fish King saw Lin Yuan rush over, its scarlet eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. After all, for an existence like Lin Yuan, who was only a step away from transforming into a flood dragon, it wasn't very likely that he would give up on the suggestion it gave him. Unless this black snake grasped the method to transform into a flood dragon. However, the Fish King only hesitated for a moment. When it saw Lin Yuan rush over, its eyes clearly revealed a trace of disdain. Its figure flashed, instantly disappearing from its original spot, only leaving behind an afterimage. Lin Yuan didn't get angry that he missed. Looking at the Fish King that was constantly teasing him with afterimages, Lin Yuan decided to no longer look at the Fish King's location. Instead, he focused on the war chain connecting the Fish King and Chen Guanshan. The snake coiled around the war chain. Lin Yuan slowly crawled forward. If the mountain doesn't come to me, then I'll go to the mountain. If this was the Fish King in its free state, Lin Yuan might have already activated the blood boil technique. However, the Fish King was clearly already in his bag. The shackles of war, which had been pulled taut, suddenly went limp. Even though Lin Yuan couldn't see the Fish King that was moving at high speed, he was certain that the Fish King definitely saw the distance between him and Chen Guanshan increase, so it wanted to use this opportunity to turn around and kill Chen Guanshan. It was precisely because the distance between the two sides had decreased that the war chain was in this state. Chapter 333. However, there was no panic in Lin Yuan's eyes. Chen Guanshan was not an existence that could be trampled on. He knew what the Fish King was scheming. It wanted to use this opportunity to get closer to Chen Guanshan. If it could change its speed at the right time, it might be able to grasp the rhythm of the battle and trick Chen Guanshan into making the final attack. Then, it could kill Chen Guanshan before Lin Yuan caught up and break the shackles of war on it. It's about time. Lin Yuan, the Fish King, and Chen Guanshan silently calculated the time in their minds. The scimitar in Chen Guanshan's hand lit up with a dazzling light. Although he still couldn't see the Fish King's figure, Chen Guanshan was certain that the Fish King was right in front of him. The Fish King narrowed its eyes slightly. Its speed, which was already too fast to be captured by the naked eye, increased by a few notches. Under such extreme speed, the water flow was even split apart by its momentum. This was also purposely giving Chen Guanshan a chance to face the pressure head-on, making it easier to trick Chen Guanshan into unleashing his final attack. Here. Chen Guanshan didn't hesitate at all, throwing out the scimitar in his hand. It's done. The Fish King opened its eyes, and its already extremely fast speed increased again. In the blink of an eye, the Fish King had already crossed a certain distance. It looked like it was about to leave the range of Chen Guanshan's scimitar. However, at this moment, Lin Yuan, who had been motionless all this time, suddenly raised his head. His heterochromatic eyes lit up with an azure light. The water around the Fish King instantly rippled. Balls of water gathered together, forming a huge wall of water that blocked the Fish King's path. Boom! The rapidly flying Fish King slammed into the wall of water. The wall of water exploded under the Fish King's charge. Blood flowed out of the Fish King's head, rising in the water under Lin Yuan's control. It was like a bewitching devil's snare blooming. At this moment, Chen Guanshan's scimitar arrived with a whistling sound. The scimitar, which was obviously made by a craftsman from the Shuangjin dynasty, did not cut through half of the Fish King's body this time. Instead, it ruthlessly embedded itself into the Fish King's head. For a hidden weapon master like Chen Guanshan, if he didn't have at least 70% confidence, he naturally wouldn't casually release his final strike. However, he sensed something from Lin Yuan's sudden motionless actions. Thus, after making a brief prediction based on the Fish King's initial speed, he unhesitatingly threw out this blade. This was his trust in Lin Yuan. He believed that Lin Yuan wouldn't just stand by and watch. As long as he threw the knife, Lin Yuan would find a way to make his knife land on the Fish King's body. And reality proved that his gamble was correct. Lin Yuan didn't give the Fish King a chance to recover. Under his control, the water turned into a dragon that roared towards the Fish King. Clearly, he didn't plan to continue fighting with the Fish King. The spectating cultivators didn't doubt that if Lin Yuan's attack landed, no matter how tough the Fish King's life was, it definitely wouldn't be able to withstand Lin Yuan's methods. The Fish King used the same trick again. As it swung its tail, it firmly restricted the flow of the water around it. It clearly didn't give Lin Yuan any chance to take advantage of it. Even though it knew that Lin Yuan had already used his methods and was ready to take its life at any time, the Fish King really couldn't think of any other methods it could use in this situation. After all the demonic beasts in the secret territory cultivated their physical strength. Although their physical fitness was much higher than that of a demonic beast like Lin Yuan, the Fish King had no way to deal with the various mysterious means of a foreign demonic beast like Lin Yuan. Pa! The tail viciously whipped the water dragon, instantly dispersing the dragon head. However, what was revealed was Lin Yuan's incomparably thick snake tail after revealing his true body. For an existence like Lin Yuan, who was hundreds of meters long, the 3-meter-long Fish King was indeed a bit weak. Almost no one doubted that under Lin Yuan's snake tail, the Fish King could vanish into thin air at any time. However, in reality, the Fish King didn't choose to face Lin Yuan head-on. Its wildly swinging tail lightly collided with Lin Yuan's snake tail. Borrowing the force, the Fish King's body flew nearly 6 meters. Its body spun about 5 times in the water before barely stabilizing its body. Interesting. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes once again emitted a golden glow. The pitch-black scales on his body lit up with specks of golden light like starlight. His figure once again swept towards the Fish King's area. This secret realm monster was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Even after being forced to this point, it still had the strength to resist the killing move he had prepared. In order to avoid Lin Yuan's tail attack, the Fish King's scimitar had sunk even deeper into its head. The Fish King let out a furious roar. Its gaze lingered on Lin Yuan for a moment. It didn't hide the hatred in its eyes. Once again, it swung its tail at Lin Yuan. It didn't believe that Lin Yuan's snake tail was as hard as his head. Boom! The fish tail collided with the snake head. The turbulent water shot out in all directions. Chen Guanshan, who couldn't dodge in time, was hit by the turbulent water on his shoulder, abdomen, and other parts. In an instant, a large amount of blood gushed out and mixed into the water. At the same time, Chen Guanshan lowered his head and half knelt on the ground. He didn't move for a long time. However, the war chain was still in place. Therefore, Lin Yuan could determine that Chen Guanshan wasn't dead. At most, he had just fainted. Lin Yuan floated in his original position, unmoving. On the other hand, the Fish King was once again pushed back more than 10 meters. The war chain was shaken by the Fish King as it was sent flying. Clearly, if it weren't for the war chain restraining it, Lin Yuan's attack would have sent it flying even further. However, this wasn't the end. The azure light in Lin Yuan's eyes lit up again. The water surrounding Lin Yuan surged and quickly gathered into a large blade made entirely of water beside the Fish King. It directly slashed at the Fish King. The Fish King sneered twice. Just as it was about to dodge again, it found that the water around it had turned into a rope. It tightly wrapped around its body, directly restricting its next move. If it were a human cultivator, they would have broken out in cold sweat. However, the Fish King clearly didn't have sweat glands. Therefore, it could only widen its eyes and watch the large blade made of water slash at it. Pfft! In just an instant, the Fish King's head and body were split in two. A large amount of blood gushed out, dyeing a large area of the water red. Until the moment of its death, the Fish King couldn't understand how Lin Yuan could control the water around it. Chapter 334. With the death of the Fish King, the remaining silver fish did not dare to linger around and dispersed. The human cultivators, who had exhausted most of their spiritual qi, let out a long sigh. Their eyes were fixed on the fish, fearing that they would return. After all, there were quite a few among them who had exhausted their spiritual qi like Chen Guanshan. It was only when the Fish Kun had completely disappeared from sight that the cultivators sat on the ground, gasping for breath. It was as if all their strength had been sucked out of them. Lin Yuan also sat up and swept his gaze across the group of cultivators. The system had scanned the place before, and it did not rule out the possibility that there were some who had unique treasures on them that could shield them from perception. However, there were at least 9 heavenly strength realm cultivators in the group. When the silver fish attacked, most of them chose to only use the power of airborne realm cultivators. It was obvious that they did not want to reveal their true strength. Things had already gotten to this point, so why were these people still hiding their strength? Lin Yuan could not figure it out, but he had to think about it. These heavenly strength realm cultivators who were hiding in the dark might not have known anything about the secret realm. The secret realm had existed for so many years, and it was impossible for it to have been discovered by the embroidered guard. There were always people in the world who had unpredictable opportunities. Even if they were to lie down and take a nap in the wild, there would be treasures of heaven and earth that would fall into their mouths. A secret realm with rich treasures in the northern frontier had existed since ancient times, and no one had opened it before. But if that was the case, Lin Yuan's gaze fell on one of the disciples of the clan standing in the northern frontier. How did this person know that the secret realm would only open at a certain time? Level 4 Heavenly Strength Realm Cultivation. Lin Yuan received feedback from the system, and the uneasiness in his heart grew. The night passed without a word. The next day, early in the morning, the disciple who greeted Lin Yuan before walked to Lin Yuan's side with a look of anxiety in his eyes. He lowered his voice and said, "Lord Dragon King, you should run before they do anything." Lin Yuan was woken up by the other party. He looked at the other party with sleepy eyes. It wasn't that he had fallen into a deep sleep without any vigilance. With his current physique, it wouldn't be a problem even if he didn't rest for a long period of time. Right now, his appearance of having just woken up was just an act. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be able to sleep peacefully among a group of people who had an ambiguous attitude towards them. This secret realm has existed in the northern frontier for a very long time. We have entered this secret realm more than once. Although we have suffered heavy losses each time, we have roughly figured out some of the areas in this secret realm. In the center of this secret realm, there is a group of palace-like buildings. It is suspected to be left behind by an ancient almighty. We can be sure that all the treasures in this secret realm are hidden in that palace. At this point, he paused and pursed his lips before continuing. However, we have tried many methods but were unable to enter the palace. It is as if there is a barrier between the air and the water, blocking our steps. Until one of us fought with the flood dragons and was bathed in the flood dragon's blood. Only then did he enter the palace for a short distance. However, the flood dragon's blood on his body quickly evaporated. After the flood dragon's blood had completely evaporated, he was sent out of the palace by an unknown force. Therefore, we speculate that only those with the blood of the dragon clan can enter that palace. At this point, his gaze fell upon Lin Yuan with a hint of helplessness. Previously, the Fish King said in public that Lin Yuan was only one step away from transforming into a flood dragon. Therefore, as long as they helped Lin Yuan take that final step, then bringing Lin Yuan into the palace would be equivalent to bringing a mobile blood bag. They would be able to freely explore the mysteries of the palace and even bring out all the treasures hidden in the palace. Lin Yuan's pair of different colored eyes flashed with a cold light. However, very quickly, Lin Yuan withdrew this cold light. These Heaven Realm cultivators did not make a move because they were worried that Lin Yuan would discover their cultivation. Now, all they needed to do was to secretly follow Lin Yuan and help Lin Yuan take that step to transform into a flood dragon. Then, when they led Lin Yuan to the palace, they would bare their sharp fangs and devour Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan could only say that the actions and thoughts of these humans were too simple-minded and simple-minded. Once he took the step of transforming into a flood dragon, his cultivation would naturally step into the Mountain Lord realm. After adding all his accumulation during this period of time to the interface, he didn't dare to say that he would have no problem reaching the second or third level of the Mountain Lord realm. Coupled with the blood-boiling technique, Lin Yuan would even dare to say that he would be able to put up a fight against a cultivator at the 5th level of the Heavenly Dipper realm, let alone this group of cultivators whose cultivation was only at the 4th level of the Heavenly Dipper realm. However, Lin Yuan wasn't worried that there would be an existence of that level hidden in the crowd. Otherwise, they could go to the neighboring water flood dragon and flying serpent's territories at any time and capture them alive. There was no need to offend Lin Yuan, a terrifying beast king who had both power and influence in the northern frontier. Lord Dragon King, my Shui clan owes you a debt of gratitude. From a small clan that was about to fall into ruin, we were able to become one of the most powerful clans in the northern frontier. That's why I'm telling you these secrets. The clan disciple cupped his fists towards Lin Yuan and said in a low voice, although I, Shui Yan, am not a person with high morals, I have to repay a debt of gratitude. This is what my late father told me every day. I will help you block the cultivators here. This is the map of the secret realm that we drew up earlier. Please accept it. Lin Yuan hadn't reached the point where he could make a move against the northern frontier clans. Currently, only the embroidered uniform guard and the Qiao clan knew about the government decree. Thus, the northern frontier clans who had followed behind Lin Yuan to monopolize the Fey business had all made a fortune. They were very satisfied with Lin Yuan as the ruler of the northern frontier. If Lin Yuan collapsed, the Xunwu dynasty would send another governor to control the northern frontier princes. Then, these clans would have a hard time. Thus, Shui Yan sincerely hoped that Lin Yuan would leave this secret realm as soon as possible. Shui clan, Shui Yan. I got it. Lin Yuan nodded towards Shui Yan and said with a smile, I have to repay a debt of gratitude. This king also understands this principle. Although this king won't leave today, this king will remember this debt of gratitude. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely return it to the Shui clan. Lord Dragon King. Shui Yan's eyes were filled with anxiety. The thing that he was most worried about had happened. This Dragon King still wasn't willing to leave after knowing about the plan of those Heaven Dipper realm experts. Instead, he was planning to stay and wrestle with these fellows with ulterior motives. Chapter 335. This king won't joke around with his own life. Just watch. Lin Yuan smiled at Shui Yan. The coldness in his eyes was completely restrained, and the previous coldness could not be seen at all. In his previous life, Lin Yuan had read some novels. In fantasy novels, a powerful ancestor would protect a family or sect, allowing that power to flourish in the local area. However, in reality, this was obviously illogical. Perhaps the ancestor of a certain power was indeed very strong, but he was definitely not an invincible existence. Not to mention that the cultivators of the same realm wouldn't allow you to do whatever you want, even if they didn't say anything. There was still the existence of the imperial court above. If it was an emperor like Lei Qiusheng, if you dared to commit any acts of banditry, you could only wait for your whole family to be executed. Shui Yan was obviously the same. Although he was a Heaven Star Border Realm Level 4 cultivator, his strength was one of the best in the entire northern frontier. However, a person's strength didn't represent the strength of the Shui family. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to protect the entire Shui family. Whether a family was strong or not, it was ultimately dependent on the performance of the family members. When the northern frontier was completely under his control, Lin Yuan had plenty of ways to make a family stronger within the rules. Of course, Lin Yuan wasn't worried that things like nurturing a tiger would happen to him. He could even let go of a superclass power like the Qiao family, let alone a lowly Shui family. Once the other party violated Lin Yuan's bottom line, what awaited them would be a bloody and brutal blow. Shui Yan, you really dare to betray us. A Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator who didn't make a move yesterday sneered. He opened and closed his hands. The water around him boiled rapidly and actually evaporated into water vapor. At the same time, a huge fire bird phantom condensed behind this Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator. As a fire element cultivator that countered water, this person was able to pass through the undercurrent outside and survive the random teleportation on the first day. Even Lin Yuan had to show a serious expression. When his gaze landed on the other's face, a hint of wariness flashed through Lin Yuan's eyes. But soon, the fear in Lin Yuan's eyes was swept away, and he sneered, "This king is standing right here. Do you have the guts to make a move against this king? No matter what you do to Shui Yan today, this king will take it all." A hint of ridicule flashed in the eyes of the Heavenly Dipper realm expert, and the firebird phantom behind him slowly faded away. Then, he slowly raised his right hand, pointed at Lin Yuan, and said, "You, the black snake, are just a beast. Even if you know our plan, what can you do? Today, I'll say it right here. If you want to transform into a flood dragon, you'll have to do it. If you don't want to, you'll have to transform into a flood dragon for me. Are you going to shed all pretense of cordiality?" After a night of recuperation, Chen Guanshan, who had gradually recovered to his peak state, stepped behind Lin Yuan and looked at the cultivator who summoned the firebird phantom. A hint of mockery flashed across his face, and he said indifferently, "I heard that dogs that bite don't bark. I'm very curious if you're an exception." Even the Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator who was a distance away could hear the conversation between Shui Yan and Lin Yuan. Chen Guanshan, who was beside Lin Yuan last night, naturally heard it. But to him, Lin Yuan's sincere goodwill was far more important than a bullshit secret realm. Therefore, Chen Guanshan still didn't hesitate and stepped behind Lin Yuan. A cold glint flashed across the Heaven Star Border Realm cultivator's eyes. As one of the few experts in the northern frontier, when had he ever been compared to a dog? It was just that the Heaven Star Border Realm expert who was suspected to be the Shuangjin barbarian had shown his skills yesterday. It was enough to make any of them feel fear. After all, although they were strong, they were still mortals. Not all of them had the level of self-healing ability of the Fish King. If they were to be hit by Chen Guanshan, they would at least be half dead. The Heaven Star Border Realm expert trembled with anger. In the end, he fiercely glared at Chen Guanshan and angrily returned to his resting place and sat down cross-legged. As expected, dogs that bite don't bark. Chen Guanshan seemed to be muttering to himself, but his voice wasn't soft. At least, the Heaven Star Border Realm expert who had just left could hear it. "What are you thinking?" Chen Guanshan walked to Lin Yuan and Shui Yan's side and asked directly without any hesitation. Shui Yan's tip-off to Lin Yuan had undoubtedly violated the bottom line of all Heaven Star Border Realm experts. Therefore, there was no place for Shui Yan. Even if Shui Yan's cultivation wasn't weak, he couldn't withstand the attacks of 8 Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators at the same time, right? Now, Shui Yan had no choice but to follow Lin Yuan and follow Lin Yuan for good or ill. In the Hengduan mountain range, hunting and being hunted are always going on. What's funny is that most of the prey thinks of themselves as the hunter. Lin Yuan's gaze swept across Chen Guanshan's face and replied indifferently. Since they had already shed all pretenses, Lin Yuan didn't mind offending the other party even more. Strange creatures like humans seem to be like this. If someone bullied you, if you retaliated, the other party might be angrier, or they might leave with their tails between their legs, not daring to provoke you again. But if you endured this, then the next time you met, the other party would bully you again until you couldn't bear it anymore and burst out. Only then would you realize that the other party was nothing more than this. Would Lin Yuan be afraid of a group of Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators? Obviously not. These Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators who had shed all pretenses with him had become moving free attribute points in Lin Yuan's eyes, waiting for him to harvest. As soon as the voice fell, a group of Heaven Star Border Realm experts couldn't wait to tear Lin Yuan apart. However, Lin Yuan's transformation into a dragon could give them unimaginable benefits, so they could only endure and silently remember this account. According to the original plan, where is the first stop? Lin Yuan's gaze fell on Shui Yan's face again. Shui Yan pondered for a moment, frowned and opened the animal skin map that he intended to pass to Lin Yuan, but Lin Yuan didn't take it. He glanced at it and said in a deep voice, "Next to the territory of the silver-scaled fish is the territory of the water dragon. We have seen some young water dragons eating a kind of plant more than once. Although it will be very painful after eating, once they get through it, the baby will become a real water dragon, and those who fail will become another kind of creature." Lin Yuan raised his eyelids. Under the reflection of the aura, he still engraved the entire map in his mind. This map wasn't complete. Many places were marked with unknown question marks, and the area they explored was at most 1/5 of the secret realm. Chapter 336. However, Lin Yuan was very interested in the plant that Shui Yan mentioned. In order to transform into a flood dragon, he had even given himself a divine name. Although he did not know how to cultivate Yin God or Yang God, in order to transform into a flood dragon, he had no choice but to do his best to accumulate the power of incense. However, he had never thought that there would be such a strange way to transform into a flood dragon. If one could endure the side effects of the plant, they could directly transform into a water flood dragon. On the other hand, those who consumed it would lose their original water flood dragon bloodline and become the flying serpent. That Lin Yuan's evaluation in his previous life was similar to that of a water flood dragon cub. Although he did not know if the flying serpent had the chance to transform into a dragon, in this cruel law of nature, the loser would definitely have to pay a corresponding price. Otherwise, Lin Yuan would not have seen the battle between the water flood dragon and the flying serpent. In other words, they plan to let me consume this plant? Lin Yuan blinked and said doubtfully, did they not consider that there is at least a 50% chance that I will fail after consuming this plant? If I transform into a flying serpent and lose the dragon blood in my body, I will naturally not be able to bring them into the palace. Could it be that they gave me a 100% chance of success? Heh. Shui Yan laughed bitterly and spread out his hands. Of course not. However, every year, they would capture some demonic beasts with dragon blood in their bodies to consume this plant. It's just that the failure rate is always very high, and the few that succeed are also very weak. It is not enough to support them to explore many secret realms. However, there are some gains every year, which is why they come every year. Lin Yuan's eyes quickly revealed a look of realization. No wonder those Heaven Realm experts did not care if he succeeded in transforming into a flood dragon. Clearly, they had expected him to break through to the Mountain Lord realm. However, this plant that could help transform into a flood dragon obviously had a huge side effect. Even if the transformation was successful, the user would fall into a weakened state for a period of time. Unfortunately, you guys know nothing about hacking. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes again. Although Lin Yuan didn't know how powerful the system was, it was clear that every time he leveled up, he wouldn't feel bloated or uncomfortable. That was because the system had helped him get rid of these drawbacks. No matter how big the side effects of the plant that can help transform into a flood dragon are, in the end, only able to transform a dragon bloodline demon beast into a flood dragon. However, since the system on Lin Yuan's body is called infinite evolution, then it will not be helpless against this level of side effects. Weak? That was impossible. The cold light in Lin Yuan's eyes quickly turned into a confident glow. He wriggled his snake body and walked towards the water WYRM's territory. At this moment, Lin Yuan looked even more impatient than those Heaven Realm cultivators. Seeing that Lin Yuan was recklessly taking the initiative to act according to their plan, the 8 Heaven Realm cultivators quickly stepped out from the crowd and followed behind Lin Yuan's group. There was a hint of mockery in their eyes. Ever since the black snake was born, it seemed that it had never lost. Whether its opponent was a small beast in the demonic beast forest or the city lord of Mountain Block City, those enemies seemed to have never been able to stop the black snake's footsteps. That was why the black snake was so confident. It was so confident that it was even a little conceited. However, Lin Yuan's willingness to cooperate with their plan was a good thing for them. Therefore, they were waiting to see the despair in Lin Yuan's eyes. With that thought in mind, their footsteps seemed to be even more impatient than Lin Yuan. Those airborne realm cultivators who were watching from the sidelines looked like they wanted to say something but stopped themselves. Although they wanted to follow and see who won in the end, being able to cultivate to such a level meant that not many people were fools. However, they soon realized that this was not something they could get involved in. Therefore, they all sat down in silence and waited for the final winner to return. Soon, the group arrived at the Water Jiao's territory. At this time, there were not many demonic beasts in the Water Jiao's territory, only 1 Water Jiao and 3 flying serpents. At least, that was what Lin Yuan saw in the system's feedback and the image in the olfactory imaging. Lin Yuan stopped the snake and looked at the 8 Heaven Realm cultivators behind him. He said indifferently, "It's time for you to work." The 8 Heaven Realm cultivators did not hesitate. Their figures flashed and quickly disappeared into the Water Jiao's territory in front of them. About 4 hours later, only 6 of the 8 Heaven Realm cultivators returned. One of them was obviously injured, but the leader was holding a green plant that looked like a tree root in his hand and handed it over. They were just a group of low-level Heaven Realm cultivators, after all. Dealing with demonic beasts at the level of the Water Jiao and the flying serpents was obviously beyond their ability. Fortunately, there was almost no defense in the water Jiao's territory at the moment. Otherwise, they would not have just paid the price of 2 lives. Lin Yuan looked at Shui Yan with a puzzled look. Shui Yan quickly nodded. As someone who had participated in exploring the palace many times, he naturally recognized what that thing was. Therefore, Shui Yan quickly nodded and confirmed that the other party did not do anything to it. Lin Yuan quickly swallowed that root-like thing under the watchful eyes of the group. Ding! The host has consumed a spiritual item. The purity of the water Jiao's bloodline has begun to increase. Ding! The host's body is being eroded by an unknown force. The water Jiao's bloodline is mutating, neutralizing the foreign force. Correcting the direction of bloodline evolution, a series of notifications rang in Lin Yuan's mind. However, Lin Yuan did not have the energy to pay attention to the system at the moment. After consuming the root-like plant, Lin Yuan felt his stomach churning as if he had swallowed a barrel of gunpowder that was about to explode. At first, Lin Yuan only had a stomachache, but following that, he felt his organs trembling violently. All the muscles in his body were being torn apart by a strange force. Even though the scales on the surface did not change, large amounts of blood continued to seep out from the gaps between the scales. The water around Lin Yuan also quickly turned turbid. This guy, did he fail? A Heaven Dipper realm expert frowned and asked worriedly. Due to Lin Yuan's existence, they could not catch the dragon bloodline demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range at all. Moreover, the dragon bloodline demonic beasts that they used to sell from the south were also put on hold because of the war in the south. Other than Lin Yuan, who had the dragon bloodline, they did not have any other backup plan. Therefore, once Lin Yuan failed, it meant that their trip to the secret realm was equivalent to a wasted trip. Let's wait a little longer. There's no hurry. This guy doesn't seem to have started to mutate yet. Although the cultivator who had summoned the fire bird earlier was also frowning, his voice was still somewhat calm. Chapter 337. Lin Yuan found it hard to describe the pain he was enduring. If there really was a hell in this world, then Lin Yuan felt as if he was locked in the deepest part of hell, enduring the longest and most painful torture. Every part of his body was constantly being torn apart and then healed by an inexplicable force. Even though Lin Yuan could feel that his physical body was constantly strengthening under the pain of constant destruction and rebirth, he still hoped that the pain would end quickly. He was even worried that if he continued like this, he would not be able to help but go crazy. There were no shortcuts in this world. Even though the spiritual item Lin Yuan had consumed could allow his bloodline to evolve into a water WYRM, the side effects were absolutely terrifying. From the system's notification, Lin Yuan knew very well that if the system had not intervened, his evolution would have failed and he would have turned into a flying serpent or some other monster. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Bloodline evolution complete. As the host's bloodline has evolved into a water WYRM, the bottleneck of the realm has disappeared. Congratulations to the host for advancing to the Mountain Lord realm. Ding! Congratulations to the host for advancing to the Mountain Lord realm. You have received a Mountain Lord realm gift pack. Warning, the unknown force in the host's body has not been completely expelled. The effects are currently unknown. There may be unknown changes in the future. Ding! Congratulations to the host. As the bloodline has evolved, you have received the innate ability Water Affinity. A series of notifications exploded in Lin Yuan's mind, but Lin Yuan did not care at all. The terrifying pain caused Lin Yuan to wrap his serpent body tightly together. There was no sign of life in his heterochromatic eyes, and the whites of his eyes were bloodshot. His mind was on the verge of collapse. Dead? This guy, it can't be, right? The cultivator who had summoned the firebird's shadow earlier frowned and muttered doubtfully. In the past few years, they had tied up dragon bloodline demonic beasts and fed them with this plant that could help them transform into a flood dragon. Although the failure rate was much higher than the success rate, they had never seen a dragon bloodline demonic beast die because of an unsuccessful transformation. Lin Yuan's gaze fell on the cultivators who were constantly sizing him up. He was sorting out his mind bit by bit, pulling himself back from the brink of a mental breakdown. Other than the mental problem, Lin Yuan felt that all the muscles in his body were extremely sore. This was the after effect of countless tearing and healing, so he was really too lazy to move now. It's not dead yet. It's still breathing. A Heaven Strength Realm cultivator crossed his arms in front of his chest and said expressionlessly, "But, what's the situation with this black serpent? Did it succeed or fail?" In the past, when a dragon bloodline monster ate this plant, regardless of whether it succeeded or failed, there would be a significant change in their appearance. However, at this moment, other than the weak aura of the black serpent, there were no visible changes. The only abnormality was that the blood that had seeped out of its scales had dried up and stuck to the gaps between the scales, forming a layer of blood shell. In fact, Lin Yuan was not unchanged. It was just that his physical body had just finished evolving, and his scales were already that of a water WIRM's. In addition, Lin Yuan was now in the pseudo-lawful embodiment of heaven and earth stage, so the increase in his body length after advancing to the Mountain Lord stage did not appear. Therefore, from the outside, Lin Yuan did not seem to have changed at all. After all, having scales but not horns was still a horn. If Lin Yuan could improve his bloodline and grow a dragon horn, then he would truly step into the ranks of the dragon clan. Although he would be a dragon of the lowest level, his power was far beyond the imagination of mortals. Is the dosage not enough? Another Heaven Strength Realm cultivator asked. Everyone was silent for a moment, and no one dared to speak. Previously, when they went to steal the spiritual item that they named Dragon Transformation Root, they were chased down by the Water WIRM and the Flying Serpent. Even though they had the advantage in numbers, they still paid the price of 2 deaths and 1 injury. Now, if they went back to look for trouble with those enraged monsters, none of them would be able to escape alive. What's the meaning of this? Don't tell me we've come here for nothing? The Heaven Strength Realm cultivator who summoned the fire bird narrowed his eyes, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He said in a deep voice, "This secret realm only opens once every 5 years. I can't compare to you guys with big families. If I return empty-handed this time, I might not be able to eat next year." At this point, his gaze fell on Qinguanshan and Shui Yan. He sneered, "What's the matter? The two of you have been watching from the side for so long. Aren't you going to do something and help our Dragon King as well?" After he finished speaking, the remaining 5 Heaven Strength Realm cultivators all gathered around in tacit understanding. Their eyes flashed with a cold glint, as if they would immediately attack if the two of them didn't agree. They didn't know if Lin Yuan had succeeded in transforming into a dragon. They suspected that the dosage of the Dragon Transformation Root was not enough. If they had to go back and face the Water WIRM and the Flying Serpent again, they naturally wouldn't have the guts to do so. In comparison, to deal with Qinguanshan and Shui Yan who were of the same kind, they obviously didn't have so many scruples. "TSK," Qinguanshan sneered, and his right hand slowly reached for his waist. He didn't seem to have any intention of hiding it, so his actions were completely seen by everyone. In that instant, everyone thought of the Fish King that Qinguanshan had heavily injured yesterday, and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. Although they didn't retract their serious coldness, their bodies honestly took half a step back. To be honest, what I hate the most is people threatening me. If you have the ability, come up and fight with real swords and spears. I, Qinguanshan, don't dare to say anything else, but my skills are passable. Before I die, I will definitely be able to take away 2 of the 5 of you trash. Do you believe me? Although Qinguanshan was at a disadvantage, his aura wasn't weak at all. His eyes flashed with a cold glint, as if his killing intent was more than the 5 Heaven Strength Realm cultivators. Lin Yuan, who was lying on the ground slowly recovering his mind, rolled his eyes. With Qinguanshan's external appearance, coupled with that strangely shaped curved blade, if one didn't know him, they would really think that he was a barbarian from the Shuangjin dynasty. Although Shui Yan didn't say anything, he silently took off his shirt, revealing the iron rings hidden under his sleeves that almost covered his entire arm. The battle intent in his eyes was also very strong. Iron Thread Fist, you are. One of the Heaven's Strength Realm cultivators looked at the iron rings on Shui Yan's arms and immediately exclaimed, as if he had discovered an incredible secret. Chapter 338. 25 years ago, an incredible figure had appeared on the northern frontier. At that time, the northern frontier had just been brought under Lei Qiusheng's rule. Various families and sects had been eyeing it covetously. As the most remote northern frontier, there were many warlords, and a new, northern frontier governor would take over every 2 to 3 days. Lei Qiusheng couldn't do anything about the northern frontier at that time. After all, the demon-subduing Master Guild, various large merchant associations, the remnants of the Jiao clan, monsters, and spies from other dynasties were all gathered here. Lei Qiusheng didn't care about those small warlords, but there were many hidden big hands in the northern frontier that suppressed Lei Qiusheng to the point that he couldn't breathe. Therefore, Lei Qiusheng made the same choice back then as he did now, temporarily give up on the northern frontier. Without the threat of Lei Qiusheng, the northern frontier warlords could do whatever they wanted. All of them were tyrannical, causing the entire northern frontier to be in dire straits. At that time, the northern frontier could be said to be littered with corpses. That was until that incredible existence was born. A pair of iron fists fought from one end of the northern frontier to the other end of the northern frontier. Looking at the entire Tianwu continent, the northern frontier was just a small corner. However, to ordinary people and even mortal evolution state cultivators, the northern frontier was a vast territory that they wouldn't be able to cover even if they spent their entire lives walking. That man, on the other hand, had only spent 2 months walking and fighting to wipe out the entire northern frontier's warlords. The strange thing was that all the forces kept silent about this man who had pacified the chaos in the northern frontier. No one interfered with his affairs, even the remnants of the Jiao clan who couldn't bear to see the Shenwu dynasty prosper. Of course, such a person definitely didn't have a good ending. Even though he was alone, he was still labeled as a warlord by Lei Qiusheng. He was forced to destroy his own cultivation in the east of Shunning City and then executed. After that, there were no more legends about this person in the northern frontier as if someone was deliberately covering it up. However, the previous generation of cultivators in the northern frontier all knew that such an incredible person had once appeared in the northern frontier. At this moment, the iron ring on Shui Yan's arm was exactly the same as the man who had swept across the northern frontier. Shui Yan cupped his fists and bowed to the upper left. He said in a deep voice, "Your master Ma Jun." Indeed. Hearing this familiar name, the 5 Heaven Dipper realm cultivators all raised their eyebrows. Shui Yan's cultivation was not low. Even among this group of people, Shui Yan's combat strength was top-notch. However, the trump card that Shui Yan had exposed at this moment was something that they had never thought of. A man who could sweep across the entire northern frontier with a pair of iron fists. How terrifying would his disciple be? In fact, the frequency of low-level cultivators killing high-level cultivators in the Tianwu continent was not low. This was related to the foundation of the cultivator. For example, if a cultivator in the airborne realm from a first-class sect fought with a Heaven Dipper realm cultivator who was groping on the road of cultivation, even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't fall behind for 300 or 400 rounds. It was needless to say how terrifying Ma Jun's inheritance was. After 25 years, the fact that this name could still make these Heaven Dipper realm cultivators fearful was the best proof. The cultivator who summoned the fire bird pondered for a moment and said loudly, "Don't pretend to be noble. Those who don't know will really think that the two of you have a good relationship with this black snake. At the end of the day, the two of you just don't care about the things in the palace. However, you have other demands for the black snake." Hearing this, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan raised their eyebrows without saying anything. After all, the other party's words really hit the nail on the head. To them, no secret realm or spiritual item was more helpful than Lin Yuan's kindness. That was why they stood on Lin Yuan's side instead of following the crowd and scheming against Lin Yuan. That's right. Another Heaven Dipper realm cultivator spoke and said in a low muffled voice, "Everyone just has different demands for benefits. Don't make the two of you sound so noble. Look at this black snake. It's about to die. Who can be blamed for this? It's just that it's too confident and thinks that we can't scheme against it. Otherwise, how could it be reduced to such a state? At this point, he looked around and continued, why don't we join forces? The 7 of us will go to the water serpent's territory again and steal a dragon transformation root for this black snake to consume. If it successfully transforms into a serpent, then we'll be rich. At worst, we'll agree to spare this black snake's life. What if we fail? All of a sudden, a somewhat unfamiliar voice sounded. The Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator laughed and said matter-of-factly, what if we fail? If we fail, then we'll be unlucky this year. This trip to the secret realm will be a wasted trip. Next year. At this point, the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator's voice stopped abruptly. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Lin Yuan, who was motionless as if he was dead, had now coiled up his snake body behind Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan. His cold gaze fell on the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator, and his heterochromatic eyes were filled with ridicule. Did we succeed? The Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator swallowed his saliva and asked with uncertainty. He even thought that he was in a dream. After all, the black snake, which had closed its eyes and waited for death, was now standing up vigorously. The contrast was enough to make people with weak minds panic. Especially at this moment, when he met Lin Yuan's gaze, he actually felt an inexplicable sense of fear. Of course, this wasn't a psychological effect. It was because after his bloodline had successfully evolved, Lin Yuan's dragon's might had changed from an active skill to a passive skill. It was as if this was an innate ability of his. With the cultivation of a first-level mountain lord, Lin Yuan could directly suppress this Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator with his aura by borrowing the dragon's might. This made Lin Yuan even more interested in the new abilities and skills that could be unlocked by the Mountain Lord realm. The martial arts and other items stored in the Mountain Lord realm gift bag had yet to be opened. However, Lin Yuan was certain that after being stuck in this realm for so long, he would definitely welcome a qualitative leap after breaking through. Just now, you said that if this trip is a waste, you won't be able to eat next year, right? The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth cracked open, revealing an incomparably evil smile at the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator who had summoned the fire bird. A hint of panic flashed across the Heaven Dipper Realm Cultivator's eyes, but he still angrily rebuked, you just happened to break through. I want to see how much combat strength you have left after eating the dragonification root. Is it enough for me to warm up? Chapter 339. These words were like a shot of adrenaline, injected into everyone's hearts. Although there were no changes to Lin Yuan's body, from its aura, it was obvious that it had succeeded in transforming into a flood dragon. According to the characteristics of the dragonization root, even if Lin Yuan had broken through to the Mountain Lord realm, he should still be extremely weak and unable to pose any threat to them. Come to think of it, according to the character of this black snake, how could it waste its breath here with them? If it really had the strength to crush them, it would have already pounced on them and launched an attack. The shadow of the firebird appeared out of thin air once again. The cultivator, who was scolded by Chen Guanzhan as a dog that did not bite, was the first to bare his fangs at Lin Yuan at this moment. Countless streams of water rushed past him and were quickly evaporated by the firebird. This was the experience he had accumulated over many years of fighting with people. Do not give the enemy any chance. Lin Yuan's method of controlling the water was too strange. Even the Fish King, whose speed was said to be strange, fell for it. He didn't think that he would be lucky enough to escape, so before Lin Yuan attacked, he directly used a spell to evaporate the water around him, minimizing the threat to him. A futile struggle. Lin Yuan sneered. In the next moment, the water around him condensed into the image of a ferocious dragon, roaring fiercely, and crashed into the area where the firebird was. Wherever it went, it was like a king patrolling his territory. Most of the water along the way merged into the water dragon, making the water dragon even stronger and more ferocious. Go! The Heaven Dipper realm expert who summoned the firebird naturally didn't want to show weakness. After a series of chants, flames wrapped around his body like a coat, still evaporating the water around him. The firebird that condensed behind him whistled and flew directly towards the water dragon that Lin Yuan waved. The firebird, which could condense underwater and evaporate a waterless area, was naturally incomparably powerful. Therefore, in terms of momentum alone, the raging dragon, which had the geographical advantage, was actually unable to compete with the firebird. It was clearly the first to attack, but the firebird fiercely suppressed it. A cold azure light flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes. In the next moment, the enraged dragon's body twisted and directly entangled the firebird that was flying over. The two monsters that were condensed from elements were entangled together, and similarly, water and fire were entangled together. The raging dragon continued to evaporate, but in the blink of an eye, it would condense again. From time to time, the firebird would be twisted into strange angles by the dragon, but it would soon let out a shrill cry again. This was a showdown between life and death. Regardless of whether it was the Heavenly Dipper realm expert who summoned the firebird or Lin Yuan, both of them were staking everything they had in this game. The Heavenly Dipper realm expert's body was gradually covered with a layer of white frost, but his eyes still flickered with a cold light, as if he was completely aware of his own abnormality. He used all his strength to control the firebird and the raging dragon to kill each other. It was the same for Lin Yuan. The blood shell and scales on his body were scorched by the high temperature, and the smell of roasted meat could even be smelled from Lin Yuan's body from afar. The remaining 6 people who had yet to participate in the battle looked at each other. None of them were newbies who had just entered the pugilistic world. At this time, if they were to talk about the pugilistic world's morality and such, they would only be defeated one by one. Therefore, the 4 Heavenly Dipper realm experts didn't have any communication, but they took out their respective weapons at the same time. Naturally, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan wouldn't just stand by and watch. One on the left and one on the right, they protected Lin Yuan. Their gazes landed on the 4 Heavenly Dipper realm experts, and their eyes revealed a hint of disdain. Everyone was very clear that this was undoubtedly a game of life and death between the two sides. If Lin Yuan could kill the other side, then in the following 3 against 4 battle, they could almost take down these guys without any suspense. But if Lin Yuan was interrupted halfway, he would inevitably be counterattacked by the spell. At that time, it would be 2 against 5, and they would have to bring along the burden of Lin Yuan who had lost his combat power. Both sides were red-eyed, staring fiercely at their opponents. Boom! A loud noise suddenly rang out. Before everyone could fight, Lin Yuan and the Heavenly Dipper realm expert who summoned the firebird changed again. The boiling water splashed everywhere, and countless steam began to rise. The raging dragon and the firebird disappeared almost at the same time. The Heavenly Dipper realm expert who summoned the firebird took a few steps back and spat out a big mouthful of dirty blood. His whole body was trembling slightly. Lin Yuan was calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos. His heterochromatic eyes revealed a touch of ridicule. Immediately, Lin Yuan's eyes widened. An even more ferocious and terrifying raging dragon suddenly condensed beside Lin Yuan. Puff! The Heavenly Dipper realm expert who summoned the firebird spat out another mouthful of blood. But this time, it was not because of the internal injuries, but purely because of Lin Yuan's anger. This monster had the power to crush him from the beginning, but he just had to release a water dragon that was about as strong as his firebird to fight. Both sides suffered a certain degree of injury, but the same degree of injury might be fatal on a human, but on a monster, it might be called scraping. In other words, in the confrontation just now, his whole person was almost frozen into a popsicle. And Lin Yuan's body temperature at most rose a little. However, snakes were cold-blooded animals. If they did not get sunlight to adjust their body temperature for a long time, they might even freeze themselves to death. So, not only did his method not cause any harm to Lin Yuan, but it was more like giving Lin Yuan a full-body massage. This degree of attack, even before transforming into a flood dragon, Lin Yuan did not care about it, let alone now that his body had been torn and reconstructed countless times. So ugly. Lin Yuan grinned and said with a cold smile, "At the beginning, your eyes were full of ferocity. When we were fighting, your eyes were full of horror. And now, after your method was broken by me, Your eyes are only filled with despair. I can't see any other emotions at all. Speaking up to this point, Lin Yuan paused. The grin on his face widened, and he said loudly, "You're so afraid of death, yet you still came to explore the mystic realm like others?" Even though he was wrapped in a layer of flames, the Heavenly Dipper realm expert who summoned the fire bird was still shivering from the cold. His lips were trembling, and he gritted his teeth and said, "I'm sorry, Lord Dragon King. I was blinded by lard before to go against you. Please be magnanimous and let me go this time. In the future, I'll be your slave." Lin Yuan's strength was far above his. And now, he was not even sure if Lin Yuan was really in a weakened state. "It's too late." Lin Yuan's indifferent voice sounded like an emotionless death god giving the final judgment. Chapter 340. The moment Lin Yuan's voice fell, the furious dragon water form had already whizzed out. This time, whether it was strength or speed, it was more than 10 times stronger than the previous furious dragon water form. The Heavenly Dipper realm expert, who was still begging for mercy, didn't even have time to dodge. His chest was directly penetrated by the huge furious dragon water phase, and the begging voice in his mouth stopped abruptly. A moment later, his whole body was torn apart, and directly shattered into dark red ice dregs all over the ground, which looked shocking. Seeing this scene, Shui Yan suddenly shuddered. If it wasn't for the trace of kindness in his heart that made him unable to lay his hands on Lin Yuan who saved his family, he might not end up any better than this guy today. Then, who is the next one? Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes looked around and asked in a joking tone. Walla dash. Just as Lin Yuan's voice fell, the remaining 4 Heaven Dipper realm powerhouses didn't dare to stay at all and directly flew in all directions. After all, the previous lesson was in front of them. They didn't want to be the next unlucky guy targeted by Lin Yuan, so at this time, they split up and ran. Whoever Lin Yuan chased after would be unlucky. After the 4 Heaven Dipper realm cultivators all fled 2 or 3 kilometers away, Lin Yuan's snake body swayed and opened his mouth to spit out a large mouthful of stagnant black blood. At this moment, the dragon power on his body also dissipated at this moment. The breath on his body began to weaken and he couldn't even maintain his current posture. He was directly on the verge of collapse. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan looked at each other and saw a touch of horror in each other's eyes. How terrifying was the combat power that Lin Yuan broke out just now. Killing a Heaven Dipper realm powerhouse in an instant, even if he had the advantage of being underwater, it was undeniable that Lin Yuan really had the ability to kill the other party. Even if it was on land, Lin Yuan would have to spend a lot of effort at best. With this kind of combat power, he was actually an arrow at the end of its flight. If Lin Yuan wasn't in a weakened state, how terrifying would he be at his peak? Chen Guanshan took a step forward and supported Lin Yuan, who was on the verge of collapse. Let's go. Lin Yuan's weak voice sounded in his ears. Chen Guanshan was shocked and looked around nervously for a moment. Those who were able to cultivate to the Heaven Dipper realm were no fools. Lin Yuan was now just an arrow at the end of its flight. He took the opportunity to kill the Heaven Dipper realm expert who summoned the fire bird. His purpose was to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. While these fellows were fleeing, he quickly left this place. Once those fellows found out that Lin Yuan wasn't chasing after them, they would inevitably find a way to come back to investigate the situation so that they could decide their next move. Therefore, leaving here now could give them a chance to breathe. Secondly, it could continue the fear in the other party's heart, making the other party mistakenly think that Lin Yuan wasn't chasing after one of the 4 people. Before the 4 people met, Lin Yuan's secret move wouldn't be exposed. Shui Yan and Chen Guanshan were slow to react. Fortunately, Lin Yuan did not have the strength to speak, so the 2 of them quickly carried Lin Yuan. One of them lifted his tail and the other carried his head, and escaped in the direction chosen by the 4 people. Lin Yuan couldn't even be bothered to speak at this moment. He didn't know what the dragonization root was, but its toxicity was far greater than Lin Yuan imagined. After all, it was something that even the system couldn't completely expel. Previously, Lin Yuan wanted to immediately add all the attribute points he had accumulated during this period to the interface after breaking through to the Mountain Lord realm. He wanted to quickly break through to the second level of the Mountain Lord realm and make use of the system's convenience of restoring him to his peak state when he leveled up to catch these Heaven Dipper realm experts off guard. However, he didn't expect the difference between the second level and the first level of the Mountain Lord realm to be so terrifying. Originally, when Lin Yuan was at the 10th level of the Wisdom realm, all his attributes had reached 700 points. During this period of time, he had accumulated 300 points. He felt that no matter how big the difference between the Mountain Lord realm and the Wisdom realm was, it shouldn't be so bad that he couldn't advance by one level after increasing all his attributes by half, right? However, in reality, it wasn't enough for him to advance. In reality, Lin Yuan didn't just add 300 points to his attributes. When he consumed the Dragonization root, Lin Yuan's attack and defense had both increased by 150 points due to the constant tearing and rebirth of his body, as well as the effects of the Dragonization root and the Dragonization root. In addition, Lin Yuan added his own attribute points. Now, all of Lin Yuan's attributes had reached a whopping 1,300 points. And this wasn't even taking into account the defense provided by the dragon scale armor. With such a terrifying accumulation of data, Lin Yuan still wasn't able to smoothly break through to the second level of the Mountain Lord realm. This made Lin Yuan's heart turn cold. When he was in the Spirit Awakening realm, he only needed to add 1 point to the attribute points required to advance by one level. The Wisdom realm was even simpler. Other than the difference between the first level of the Wisdom realm and the 10th level of the Wisdom realm, the attribute points required to advance by one level didn't change at all. At one point, Lin Yuan felt that demonic beasts didn't need to rely on attribute points in the later stages. In the end, before he could even wake up from his dream, the system gave him another resounding slap on his face. He didn't even manage to advance by one level after spending a total of 600 points. He didn't even feel the bottleneck. Lin Yuan even felt that at this stage, if he wanted to rely on killing demonic beasts or humans to advance by one level, the people of the Shenwu dynasty would probably all be wiped out by him before he broke through to the peak of the Mountain Lord realm. Could it be that in the later stages, I have to use Joss Flames and War Points to exchange for attribute points to advance? Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly as he pondered in his heart. Every time the system activated a template, if it wasn't something that he needed, then there must be some deeper meaning behind it. The Faction Battle template and the Joss Flames template were two completely different paths for Lin Yuan. One path required him to continuously provoke the various factions of the Tianwu continent, triggering war after war, and then completing these wars and war missions to obtain large amounts of war points. This path was a path that Lin Yuan had to take, but no one dared to say that they were an invincible general. There was an old saying in his previous life, a general dies in 100 battles. No one dared to say that they could win for their entire life. Exchanging war points for attribute points was already a loss. If he lost a war or failed a war mission, the price he would have to pay wouldn't be small. As for collecting Joss Flames and converting them into attribute points, it was a very peaceful path. Although it was filled with countless bloodshed, even if he failed, he wouldn't have to pay any price. Moreover, according to the system's introduction of the Joss Flames template, every believer would provide him with Joss Flames every day, and it was a renewable resource. Chapter 341. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan carried Lin Yuan and sped away. Lin Yuan constantly adjusted his breathing. As time passed, his body did not get better as Lin Yuan expected. Instead, it became more and more dizzy and uncomfortable. However, in this state, Lin Yuan felt that his spirit was unprecedentedly strong. He could not even faint even if he wanted to. Ding, the foreign energy in the host's body has been completely removed. However, the changes caused by the foreign energy to the host are irreversible. Ding, due to the corrosion of the foreign energy, the host's innate talent, water affinity, has undergone an irreversible change. Innate talent, water affinity. Due to its characteristics, it has been officially renamed to Nether River Blackwater. Another series of system notifications sounded. Lin Yuan frowned slightly. However, he endured the fatigue and pain and opened his panel. Host, Lin Yuan status, Blackwater Nether Flood Dragon, mutated, realm, 21/30th speed, 300 attack, 500 defense, 500 plus 100 demonic power, 2000 assignable attribute points, 0 innate talents. First, Eye of God. Based on the smell, it forms an accurate image of the surrounding 50,000 meters. The host can inspect the attributes of all creatures within the image range. This innate talent cannot be upgraded. It is a combination of innate talent 1, innate talent 2, and the special skill, Appraisal Eye. It can be switched on or off. The scanning range is calculated based on the host's demonic power. The host can only use the ability to inspect attributes 3 times a day. If the number of uses is maxed out, it will automatically enter a cooldown period. It can only be used again after 24 hours. This skill also has a failure rate. However, it has a 100% success rate for detecting creatures below the host's realm. It has a 50% success rate for creatures of the same realm as the host. For creatures above the host's realm, it has a 30% success rate. Second, Monarch of Water. You can take away the ability to control water from creatures whose realm is lower than yours or whose ability to control water is not as good as yours. This innate talent cannot be upgraded with attribute points. It can only be upgraded based on the host's understanding of the ability to control water. The current upgrade progress is 15/100. Third, Invisible Ice. Your ice spells cannot be detected before they are used on the enemy. This innate talent cannot be upgraded with attribute points. It can only be upgraded based on the host's understanding of the ability to control ice. The current upgrade progress is 10/300. Fourth, the Blood Sacrifice Wish Technique. Make a wish by using one's own blood or the blood of other living beings as a sacrifice. Whether or not the wish is fulfilled depends on the size of the wish and the quality of the sacrifice. This talent is a cause and effect skill. Offerings can be replaced with free attribute points. Each free attribute point is equivalent to a drop of the host's blood at the current stage. Regardless of whether the final wish is successful or not, the offerings will not be returned. 5. Flood Dragon Scale Armor. When the host's scale armor is in good condition, it can increase the host's defense by 20%. Congratulations, you've become a real Flood Dragon, so your Flood Snake Scale Armor has been changed to Flood Dragon Scale Armor. 6. Pseudo-Celestial Body. The host can control the size of his body at will. The smallest size can't be smaller than the smallest size of the species, and the largest size can't exceed the host's original size. This is a special skill. It can be upgraded, but it cannot be upgraded with free attribute points. Please find the way to upgrade it by yourself. The current upgrade progress is 0/100. 7. Dragon Aura. Although the host who has become a Flood Dragon is not an official member of the Dragon Clan, he has completely broken away from the ranks of ordinary beasts. When the host releases Dragon Aura, ordinary beasts will tremble in fear and will not dare to challenge the host's dignity. If the other party has the bloodline of a snake or Flood Dragon, the effect of this skill will be increased by 50%. It will only have a slight effect on beings with a higher bloodline or realm than the host. This skill doesn't have much lethality, unless the other party's realm is far lower than yours. Then, they might be scared to death by the host's gaze. However, when facing such trash, the host wouldn't really need to activate this skill, right? No way, right? 8. Black Water of the Styx River. The host will be the source of the Styx River and open up a Styx River that belongs to him. All the creatures killed by the host will float in this Styx River. The host can decide their future at any time. If the host is not willing to let them go, they will sink into it forever and won't even have the chance to be reincarnated. This skill seems to have come from an extremely terrifying plane. Even with the power of this system, I can only see a corner of it. This skill can be upgraded, but it can't be cultivated through normal means, and it can't be replaced with attribute points. The cultivation method of this talent is extremely evil. The more the host kills, the stronger this talent will be. Perhaps in time, the host will be able to open up a new netherworld based on himself. Martial Arts 1. Golden Body Secrets, Stage 3 Perfection. When the host consumed a special spiritual item to temper his body, this martial art was upgraded to the perfection stage. The host can activate or deactivate the Golden Body Secrets. When the Golden Body Secrets is activated, the host will obtain 65% damage immunity. Because the Golden Body Secrets has been perfected, normal attacks will no longer reduce the progress of the Golden Body Secrets. However, some special attacks can directly cripple the host's cultivation of the Golden Body Secrets. The host must take care and develop wretchedly. Don't be reckless. In addition, this martial art can only be evaluated as trash by the system. For a real magical power, this martial art can be shattered at any time. However, this martial art is not without any advantages. For example, the host can activate this martial art to disguise himself as a member of the Golden Dragon clan. 2. Tyrant Song of the World, Special Martial Art, cannot be upgraded. This martial art uses a special method to help the host speak. When the host speaks, the host's dignity is increased by 20%. Skills 1. Void Embrace 2/10/500. When the skill is activated, the host can enter the void for a short period of time. 1 second after the skill is activated, the host will appear behind the target and attack. If the host doesn't have any special methods, it will be impossible to escape from the void's embrace. 2. Cursed Poison 1/500. The host can use his own poison to replace the target's blood, controlling the target's life and death. Unless the host is immune to the poison, the host can control almost any existence corroded by his own cursed poison. 3. Sea Suppressing Tail 0/500. Because the host has upgraded his Water Flood Dragon bloodline, the original Thorny Whip skill has been upgraded. Now, this skill can deal an additional 50 points of true damage to the target. However, without the power of vibration, when the host uses this skill in water, its power is increased by 50%. 4. Blood Boil Technique 10/100. When the host activates the Blood Boil Technique, the host's attributes will be doubled for 3 minutes. The cooldown time is 3 days. 5. All Things Have Spirit cannot be upgraded. The host can communicate with any creature through his thoughts, regardless of species or language. Chapter 342. Phew, Lin Yuan suddenly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. After looking at his attribute panel, although he was sure that most of his values had not changed, he still felt that he had become much stronger. As for the new talent ability, Lin Yuan could only laugh it off. The system itself was not a good thing. It strengthened the host through killing and war, and such an existence actually evaluated this new talent as extremely evil. How evil could it be? Could it be that this part of the soul that was absorbed into the river Styx was originally in the system's pocket, so the system was dissatisfied with this new talent? Although this talent did seem evil, it had to be said that the temptation of this talent for Lin Yuan was really terrifying. In all the worlds and countless myths, the most terrifying existence would always be the underworld. It was a place that controlled the life and death of countless creatures. Even a great cultivator who could turn the clouds and rain with a flip of his hand was under the jurisdiction of the underworld before he truly took the step of immortality. Therefore, although the underworld was under the jurisdiction of the heavenly court, strictly speaking, they were two systems. One was the immortal immortals, and the other was the immortal immortals who controlled life and death. If it were not for the human world in between, the two sides would not rest day and night, and would always be in a war. For example, in Lin Yuan's previous life, Hell and Heaven in the West, or Azura and God in India, there were too many such examples. And the system's evaluation of this talent was also extremely terrifying. In time, he could even open up a new underworld. As the master of the underworld, Lin Yuan had won at the starting line. Except for himself, no existence could harvest his soul. Even if his physical body collapsed and decayed, Lin Yuan could at most reincarnate and cultivate again. This new talent had almost allowed Lin Yuan to take a solid step on the step of immortality. As for the river Styx, it was an even more terrifying thing. The existences that were killed by Lin Yuan would be immersed in the river Styx that belonged to Lin Yuan for a long time. After a long time, even the most rational existence would go crazy. Once Lin Yuan had the intention to kill and released his river Styx, the first thing that the existences in the river Styx would do was to pull all the creatures they saw into the river Styx, massacring cities and destroying countries, in the blink of an eye. Even destroying the entire world was only a matter of time. Although Lin Yuan did not know what the dragonization route was, since it could bring such a terrifying change to him, it did not make sense that it would not be kept in the palace of the creator of this arcane realm, right? Either this thing appeared in the arcane realm after the creator of this arcane realm had fallen, or there was a great cause of great karma. Either that, or this thing had great karma, and even someone as powerful as the creator of this secret realm had to stay away from it. Lin Yuan did not know which was the case, but he did not doubt that he had already been tainted with great karma. Although he did not know whether the heavenly court and the underworld existed in the Tianwu continent, Lin Yuan could already conclude that the legends of his previous life were not groundless. If one day, Lin Yuan really found a way to return, what he would have to face would not be a group of simple cultivators and demonic beasts, but a group of terrifying existences that had been spreading throughout the world. Their influence spanned across the heavens and tens of thousands of worlds, and any one of them could be considered familiar with the terrifying existences. Lin Yuan had the river Styx, and in the future, he might even be able to create a new underworld that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the underworld and hell. Even if those almighty beings were not interested in the secrets on him, they would not allow an existence like him to continue growing. Looking around, he was surrounded by enemies. Lin Yuan, who had once again stepped into a new realm, did not feel much joy or relief. Instead, he felt that the burden on his shoulders had become even heavier. About 10 minutes later, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan's foreheads were already sweating. After all, while Lin Yuan had shrunk his body, it did not mean that his weight had changed. Two heavenly strength realm experts carrying a mountain lord level water jiao was a feat that no airborne realm cultivator would have dared to imagine. If they were in Lin Yuan's shoes, they would have been crushed into meat paste by his terrifying weight. It's about time. Let's rest for a while, Lin Yuan said weakly. It would not take long for those four to realize that Lin Yuan's previous performance was nothing more than an arrow at the end of its flight. They would return to the place where they fought Lin Yuan before. If they could not find Lin Yuan, their next step would be to return to the previous gathering place and wait for Lin Yuan to come knocking on their door. From their perspective, since Lin Yuan was unable to escape his weakened state, Lin Yuan would stay in that state for a long time. As long as they could catch Lin Yuan during that time, not only would they not have to worry about Lin Yuan's revenge when they got out, but they would also be able to explore the palace in the central region smoothly. As such, there was no way they would run away. After all, Lin Yuan's influence in the northern frontier was just too great. Unless the first thing they did after leaving here was to return to their families and inform them to give up on the northern frontier and quickly move to the south of the Shenwu dynasty, Lin Yuan's revenge was definitely not something that a few heavenly strength realm cultivators could handle. If a person's cultivation was really that useful, Du Xinghai would not have been exiled to the Hengduan mountain range, and Yan Xingqi would not have been sent to the bitter cold of the northern frontier to fend off the endless Yao beasts. Not to mention Lin Yuan's gathering power in the Hengduan mountain range, even the 600,000 guards in the northern frontier could just stand there and let them cut them down. These heavenly strength realm cultivators would be exhausted to death. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan put Lin Yuan down and began to meditate to recover their strength. After a while, Shui Yan was the first to open his eyes and said with a frown, "This brother might have been taken by them as a barbarian from the Shuangjin dynasty, and my identity as the successor of the horse army has been exposed. Coupled with Lord Dragon King's current weakened state and his identity as a Yao beast, those four fellows will definitely target us when they return. So I think they will soon mobilize those airborne realm cultivators and begin to search for us." There was a saying in Lin Yuan's previous life that one's head decided one's bottom. It meant that the more capable one was, the higher one's position would be. However, this was applicable in a harmonious society. Although there was competition between people, it would not be too violent and bloody. However, in the Tianwu continent, one's bottom really decided one's head. If you don't stand on the side of the winner, then you can just wait for your death. This was not a joke, but a cruel reality. So, whether those people were willing or not, they would join the search for Lin Yuan and his group. Chapter 343. The two sides had been playing a game from the very beginning. Since it was not Lin Yuan who returned to the gathering place, regardless of how many Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators there were, they had absolute authority over the airborne realm cultivators. Even if there were a few dissenting voices, those voices would be quickly extinguished by them, and then they would quickly tie those people together and use them for their own purposes. If they did not want to become the target of public criticism, then the only way to break the situation was to immediately return to the gathering place and compete with the other side before everyone's opinions were unified on the matter of Lin Yuan. That might have been able to get those airborne realm cultivators to enter a wait-and-see state again. Unfortunately for them, Lin Yuan was currently in a weakened state. Even if airborne realm cultivators were to run into Lin Yuan, there was no guarantee that Lin Yuan would be able to take them down, let alone Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators. Qin Guanshan narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice, "So, we have to keep running? Do you have any other opinions?" Sigh. Shui Yan sighed and said bitterly, "We do have to keep running, but everyone has a map. If we were to head to some safer areas, we would be quickly found out. If we were to head to dangerous areas, we would not be able to guarantee our own safety. Secondly, we would probably run into some powerful people." Everyone had a map in hand. Although they had not explored the entire secret realm, they had explored all the nearby areas with the gathering place as the center. Those Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators were able to divide into teams according to the strength of the cultivators, searching for Lin Yuan and the others separately. After all, the secret realm was so big that it was not something that the four of them could have explored. That was why they went back to mobilize those airborne realm cultivators. Qin Guanshan's eyes flashed with a cold glint. He said in a cold voice, "If there is no safe place, then, run to areas that you have not explored." At such a juncture, even if Qin Guanshan was not in the mood to gamble, he had to make such a choice at the moment. Although there was no telling what kind of threats existed in the unknown areas, they would die sooner or later if they did not take the risk. On the other hand, those people who thought that they were sure to win would most likely not choose to enter the unknown areas to fight them if they could not find them in the explored areas. The most likely possibility was that they would block the exit and wait for them to walk into the trap. "I have no objections." Lin Yuan thought for a moment and quickly replied. He was well aware of his influence. Once he made it out of the mystic realm alive, even if he didn't do it himself, those forces who were waiting to curry favor with him would spare no effort to take revenge on those who had tried to hit Lin Yuan while he was down. Therefore, from now on, apart from Qin Guanshan and Shui Yan, no one else in the mystic realm wished to see Lin Yuan leave alive. Meanwhile, on the shore outside the mystic realm, Lei Fan was holding a long sword with both hands, his clear black and white eyes filled with coldness. Behind him, a group of northern frontier guards dressed in silver armor were pressing down the cultivators who had been helped up from the water onto the ground, punching and kicking those who were struggling from time to time. After all, after the mystic realm had opened, it was no longer a secret that Lin Yuan wanted to enter the mystic realm. But these cultivators had still chosen to come over and try their luck. Some of them might have been forced to do so, but strictly speaking, these cultivators usually did not think much of Lin Yuan, the actual ruler of the northern frontier. In the past, these people had all been hiding in the dark and hence the northern frontier duke's residents could not do anything to them. But now, the place they were in was part of the Hengduan Mountains and with the proof given by Lin Yuan, the guards of the northern frontier could do whatever they wanted here. But cultivators did not have the same treatment. So even if Lei Fan killed all of them here, no one would dare to say anything against Lei Fan. As for those cultivators who thought they had some martial prowess and wanted to fight their way out of the northern frontier guards' encirclement, Lei Fan did not kill them all. On the contrary, the guards of the northern frontier guards had done their best to go easy on those who had tried to break out of the encirclement. What did they think was outside the northern frontier guard's encirclement? Was it a vast wilderness? No, it was a group of monsters led by Wan Yu, Na Qin, and Bai Lu. Although there were no mountain lords, but compared to the airborne realm cultivators, there were quite a number of wisdom realm monsters. Although this was Lin Yuan's personal matter, the beast kings nearby had all benefited greatly from Lin Yuan. Although they did not participate in the battle in name, they had secretly lent Bai Lu quite a number of wisdom realm monsters to participate in the battle. If they were to fall into Lei Fan's hands, they might be able to put up a fight. But if they were to fall into the hands of the monsters, they might not even be able to leave a complete corpse. Hearing the shrill screams that kept ringing in his ears, the corners of Lei Fan's mouth curled up slightly, the coldness in his eyes growing. Beside Lei Fan was a middle-aged man holding a long halberd, dressed in bright silver armor. At that moment, his eyes were closed and no one knew what he was thinking. Many pairs of expectant gazes fell upon him, but they did not get any response. In the end, those cultivators who had been tied up by the guards of the northern frontier all showed a look of despair. Even Yan Xingqi was on the Black Snake's side. In fact, as the guardian of the northern frontier, Yan Xingqi did not have a good impression of Lin Yuan. After all, the monsters that he had come into contact with in the past were all cruel and bloodthirsty creatures. But there were not many of them who had a good impression of humans. If it was not for the fact that the Void Realm cultivators were not allowed to interfere in battles where there were no cultivators of the same cultivation level, with his battle prowess, Lin Yuan might not have been able to conquer Shunning City. However, during this period of time when Lin Yuan was overseeing the northern frontier, other than the Blackwater Dragon King Temple that he did not understand, Yan Xingqi really could not find any fault with Lin Yuan. Now, the entire northern frontier was thriving under Lin Yuan's rule, and there was no longer any signs of hardship. Ever since he was exiled to the northern frontier, Yan Xingqi had treated this place as his hometown. The arrival of the Black Snake, not only did it not cause the northern frontier to fall into chaos, it had instead led the entire northern frontier to a better direction. Yan Xingqi naturally had no reason to oppose Lin Yuan. On the contrary, in the dark, Yan Xingqi had also used his influence to help Lin Yuan get rid of the infiltration of some of the bigger powers. Otherwise, the northern frontier today would not be so united. Senior Yan, if you don't have the heart, you should go back to Shunning City and rest. Lei Fan walked over to Yan Xingqi's side and said in a gentle voice, any change will be accompanied by pain. No matter what we do in the future, but for now, our existence is good for the entire northern frontier. The sooner we get rid of these stumbling blocks, the better it will be for everyone. Monthly ticket, 20 plus more, delivered. Chapter 344. I understand, I understand. Yan Xingqi waved his hand lightly, a dim look flashing past his eyes as he frowned and said, but, I must meet this Black Snake. Otherwise, some decisions will not be easy to make. No one can guarantee that when the Black Snake is the only voice left in the northern frontier, it will still be able to rule over the northern frontier. There were many sects in the northern frontier. Although there were not many in the Void Realm, but there were still some. Lin Yuan's actions today had placed him on the opposite side of these sections. Although both sides were accumulating strength, but the conflict would erupt sooner or later. When that time came, with Lin Yuan's strength, if he did not invite the great demonic beasts from the Hengduan Mountains, he would not be able to contend against the power of these sections. After all, at the point of life and death, who would care about rules? When the time came, the Void Realm existence would definitely come to deal with Lin Yuan. But if Lin Yuan were to invite the desolate demon realm great demonic beasts from the Hengduan Mountains, then the consequences would be, those great demonic beasts were not existences that Lin Yuan could control. Once the human side broke the rules first. Then if those great demonic beasts did not kill to their heart's content, they would not be worthy of the title of beast. So before things reached that stage, Yan Xingqi wanted to see what kind of existence Lin Yuan was, and whether it was worth it for him to sacrifice his old face to protect Lin Yuan's right to rule. Someone else has come out. Lei Fan suddenly furrowed his brows and muttered under his breath. Previously, those who came out of the lake were those who did not have the qualifications to enter the mystic realm. But these people were more or less under their control. Even the guards from the northern frontier had personally entered the lake to search but did not discover the existence of any cultivators below. Now, another person had appeared out of nowhere. Then this person should have already entered the mystic realm and came out again. But why was it so fast? Poof! A cultivator in ragged clothes, his entire body covered in filthy blood, broke through the surface of the water and tumbled onto the shore, panting heavily. His chest heaved up and down violently, and the breath on his body was weak. Lei Fan had no doubt that if this guy were to continue lying down like this, he would have to swallow his last breath sooner or later. After carefully sizing up the other party for a moment, Lei Fan's face suddenly changed as he roared angrily, "Quick! Save them!" He recognized that person. That person was a spy of the Demon Emperor Association in a second-rate sect in the northern frontier. This time, he was ordered by the sect to enter the mystic realm to search for treasures. But looking at the other party's current appearance, it was obvious that his identity had been exposed. Otherwise, the injuries on his body would not have been caused by swords and sabers. The dark child raised a hand, adjusted his breathing, and said with all his might, "There's no need. I know my own body very well. There's no saving it. Northern Frontier King, quickly organize people to enter the mystic realm and rescue the Demon Emperor. Several Heavenly Dipper realm powerhouses are organizing people to surround and kill the Demon Emperor. Before he could finish speaking, the spy had already taken his last breath. Lei Fan's eyes were bloodshot and he was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Previously, when Lin Yuan wanted to enter the mystic realm, he had already objected to it. Now, something had indeed happened. Although Lei Fan did not know what had happened in the mystic realm, but several Heavenly Dipper realm powerhouses were organizing people to surround and kill Lin Yuan, who was at the peak of the wisdom opening state. No matter how he looked at it, the situation was extremely dangerous. Therefore, there was not much time left for him. If Lin Yuan were to die in the mystic realm, he did not dare to think about the consequences. The reason why the northern frontier could prosper and develop was because of Lin Yuan's existence. Once Lin Yuan died, the northern frontier would lose the support of the Hengduan Mountains. All the advantages they had now would be gone. Facing the weapons of the Shenwu dynasty, they would not have any ability to resist. When that time came, including him, no one would have a good ending. Damn it, you won't let me have a good life? Then no one can have a good life. Lei Fan cursed fiercely, his pair of purple eyes flashing with a cold light. If the Northern Frontier sects did not let the Northern Frontier King have a good life, the Northern Frontier King would dare to declare that the Northern Frontier would no longer have a place for the sects to survive. Yan Xingqi frowned slightly and asked, "Why don't I go down and take a look?" This doesn't follow the rules." Lei Fan sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Yan Xingqi in disbelief. "Rules? Tisk." Yan Xingqi laughed coldly and said eerily, "What are the rules?" "Some people say that these are the rules." "Just as I expected, there is only one entrance to the mystic realm. As long as everyone dies in there, who would say that I have broken the rules? A kind man would not be an official, and a kind man would not command an army. As a general of the Thousand Swords dynasty who was as famous as Lei Qiusheng during the Jiao Xinghai era, Yan Xingqi would not be so inflexible to adhere to some rules. He would also not be nice to those who stood against him. Then, I will have to trouble Senior." Lei Fan cupped his hands towards Yan Xingqi, the joy in his eyes hidden very well. Once Yan Xingqi made a move for Lin Yuan, it was equivalent to being tied to their war chariot. The Northern Region Lord's mansion could be said to have a Kongming realm powerhouse in charge, and without a Kongming realm powerhouse in charge, it could be said to be a completely different force. From today onwards, if any powers wanted to reach out to the northern frontier, they would have to consider Yan Xingqi's wishes. The cold smile on Yan Xingqi's face did not fade as he narrowed his eyes and said, "I have yet to promise you that I will go down to save that black snake. If it is worthy of my help, I will not hesitate. But if it is not to my liking, I might not even let that black snake go this time. Although he had a good impression of Lin Yuan for the time being, Yan Xingqi was, after all, an existence that had experienced the change of the dynasty. The existence of an opponent and the existence of an opponent are two completely different things. Since ancient times, the collapse of a dynasty was not mostly because of external enemies, but because of their own auxiliary profession. For example, in the Ming and Song dynasties of Lin Yuan's previous life, who was not invincible when they were surrounded by foreign enemies. Now that Lin Yuan was in the northern frontier, he still had opponents like the sects and aristocratic families, so Lin Yuan's wisdom could be because Lin Yuan had always been like that, or it could be because Lin Yuan was forced to put on an act. What Yan Xingqi wanted to do was to see if Lin Yuan was really like that, or if he had put on a mask for himself. Let's go. Without waiting for Lei Fan to open his mouth, Yan Xingqi's figure flashed as he leapt high up into the air. Like a falling meteor, he smashed heavily into the lake. In an instant, all the water in the lake was suspended in the air. The fishes in the water did not even know what had happened before they were smashed into minced meat by the powerful impact, dyeing a large area of the lake red. Immediately, the lake water returned to its original position, as calm as ever, as though nothing had happened. Monthly ticket full 40 tickets plus updates. Chapter 345. 2 flowers bloomed, one on each branch. We're about done here. Lin Yuan, who was being carried by Shui Yan and Chen Guanshan, raised his eyelids and said slowly. As a powerful demon beast, Lin Yuan was very sensitive to danger. After all, in order to survive in the forest, in addition to one's own strength, one must be sensitive to the appearance of danger. Otherwise, one could become food in the stomach of those more powerful predators at any time. For example, at this moment, Lin Yuan clearly sensed a powerful aura from the water in front, which was why he asked the two to stop. Because at the same time he sensed the other party also sensed his existence. However, the other party did not intend to attack him for the time being. It only slightly flashed its aura, as if warning Lin Yuan that the water in front of them was its territory. This place, Shui Yan frowned slightly. Although they had already gone far beyond the explored areas, if those cultivators wanted to take the risk and go deeper, they would immediately be discovered. At that time, if something were to happen, carrying a huge burden like Lin Yuan, they would not be able to outrun those cultivators. Chen Guanshan also frowned slightly, but soon, Chen Guanshan shook his head and said, although I also feel that it is not safe to stay here, if those guys really want to chase us, no matter how deep we go, they will still find us. It is better to take the opportunity to rest for a while, in case we run into something later, we won't even have the strength to fight back. This junior was chased by a group of humans to this place. I will borrow senior's place to rest for a while. I will leave when my injuries are slightly better. Lin Yuan did not pay attention to Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan, but said solemnly to the water in front of him. In response to Lin Yuan, there was silence. Chen Guanshan's brows that had just relaxed frowned again, and his right hand subconsciously touched his waist. Lin Yuan had just suddenly shouted to stop, and in addition to his current performance, if he still did not realize that there was a terrifying existence in front of him, then he should not have lived until today. Shui Yan's face was also full of vigilance. He looked at the water in front of him and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. The demonic beasts of the secret realm were all extremely hostile to humans. For example, the School of Intelligence State Level 4 Silver Fish. Even if they knew that they might not be a match for humans, they would still brazenly attack humans. So whether this terrifying existence in front of them would directly attack them was really unknown. The atmosphere was like a taut string that could snap with the slightest provocation. At this moment, the water in front of them trembled, and a dull voice sounded, yes. His actions caused Lin Yuan and the others to heave a sigh of relief. They all collapsed onto the ground and began to adjust their breathing. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged on the ground and looked at the water in front of him. A hint of contemplation flashed through his multicolored eyes. For some reason, Lin Yuan felt that the being in front of him was very friendly. It was different from the friendliness between people of the same race. It was more like an old friend who had not seen each other for many years. That was why Lin Yuan took the risk of provoking the other party and took the initiative to speak. F***ck, they're here. Chen Guanshan suddenly cursed and stood up abruptly from the ground. Immediately, there was a burst of noise behind him. It was obvious that someone was heading this way. We seem to have made a big mistake. Shui Yan turned his head and glanced, then suddenly said. Following Shui Yan's gaze, Chen Guanshan's face suddenly darkened. Because they had been fleeing in a panic, they did not notice some details. For example, when the two of them carried Lin Yuan and ran, they left very deep footprints along the way. They did not bother to cover up as they fled in a panic. They did not notice it before, but now that they suddenly turned around and saw it, they suddenly felt as if they had cerebral palsy. They had left such obvious footprints for the other party. Now, perhaps everyone had followed the footprints and chased after them. Chen Guanshan shook his head, and the gloominess on his face dissipated. He said in a low voice, at this point, wallowing in self-pity won't solve the problem. We have no other choice but to go all out and fight. Soon, a large group of cultivators appeared in their sight. The 4 Heaven Dipper realm experts in the lead were among them. One of them took a step forward and said coldly, "We were almost cheated by you, beast. Sure enough, you demonic beasts are all cunning and vicious. Black Snake, Grandpa advises you to cooperate with us obediently. Perhaps you still have a chance of survival. Otherwise, don't blame Grandpa for being ruthless." Lin Yuan raised his eyelids, and a sneer flashed across his heterochromatic vertical pupils. He tilted his head and said, "Who did you call cunning and vicious just now?" "I'm talking about you, you demonic beasts. You demonic beasts deserve to die. None of you are good." The Heaven Dipper realm cultivator obviously did not expect that Lin Yuan not only did not panic, but also dared to question him. He suddenly felt that he had lost face in front of everyone. In addition, he was frightened by Lin Yuan when he killed one of his companions. He really wanted to tear apart Lin Yuan, this cunning and vicious person. "Then you deserve to die." Lin Yuan's voice sounded like a biting cold wind. The Heaven Dipper realm expert swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and there was a touch of fear in his eyes. He stared blankly behind Lin Yuan. Chapter 346. The monster was slightly startled when it saw Lin Yuan call out its species. It then immediately swung its right claw out, crushing all of the airborne realm cultivators in front of it into minced meat. The pungent smell of blood immediately filled the air. That heavenly strength realm cultivator, who had been shouting, had already escaped from the black tortoise's attack range while the monster was still slightly stunned. Even so, the wind from the monster's palms still pushed that heavenly strength realm cultivator back. However, the strange thing was that such a terrifying attack from the monster did not create any rapids or small whirlpools at the bottom of the water. It was as if there was an invisible force suppressing the water. The black tortoise? That's not it anymore. The monster lowered its head and muttered silently. However, the huge monster soon raised its head again. Its eyes were filled with endless malice and hostility when it looked at the large group of humans in front of it. The heavenly strength realm cultivator, who had been shouting at Lin Yuan before, gulped and felt his legs go weak. He did not dare to look at the huge monster in front of him at all. That was because he knew very well that if it had not been for Lin Yuan calling out that strange name and causing the monster to be startled for a while, he would have been no different from those airborne realm cultivators who had been killed by the monster. They would have all been reduced to minced meat under the monster's palm. The monster raised its right claw to its mouth and slowly extended its barbed tongue, gently licking the flesh and blood on the claw clean. A look of joy suddenly appeared in its eyes. This guy, a thin layer of cold sweat oozed from Shui Yan's forehead. That monster of unknown origin seemed to have a strong hatred for humans. The two of them were able to live peacefully with the monster because they were on Lin Yuan's side. However, killing was something that could easily affect one's mind. Who knew if the monster would go berserk and not even let Shui Yan and Chen Guanshan go? The secret realm was not small, but less than 1/5 of the area had been explored. Lin Yuan had randomly chosen an area to enter, and he had already encountered such a terrifying monster. Shui Yan did not even dare to imagine if there would be something even more terrifying in the further areas. Under the joint blockade of the northern frontier by all the major sects and clans, even a clan like the Qiao clan had not been able to get any information about the secret realm. It was obvious that the Freedom Courtyard was a top-notch clan and clans, and they did not want the Qiao clan to get a share of the pie. That was enough to prove that they valued the secret realm. If they valued the secret realm so much, why did they only explore 1/5 of the area? Was it because they did not dare or because they could not? Shui Yan was not the only Shui Yan. Lin Yuan. That was because he found that there were too many unsolved mysteries in the secret realm. For example, the strange spiritual object known as the dragonization root. It had nothing to do with the Dragon Clan, but it could allow the existence of the Dragon Clan's bloodline to advance to a higher level. However, it had something to do with the Dragon Clan, and it had given Lin Yuan a mutated innate ability that was related to the underworld. There was also the monster with the head of a turtle and the tail of a snake in front of him. It was obviously the black tortoise that he had heard of in his previous life. However, whether it was its appearance or temperament, it did not seem to have anything to do with a divine beast or an auspicious sign. Furthermore, from the reaction of Shui Yan and the others when they saw the monster, they probably did not know of the existence of the black tortoise. However, this world had Kirin, the Dragon Clan, and even the phoenix that controlled the sky. Why did the black tortoise, which was also a divine beast, not exist in this world? A moment later, Lin Yuan's face suddenly changed. There were bursts of severe pain all over his body, as if he was being roasted over a fire. If snakes had sweat glands, then Lin Yuan would probably be sweating profusely at this moment because of the pain. At first, Lin Yuan thought that this was one of the side effects of the dragonization root. However, he soon realized that the monster's killing of humans had slowed down a lot. It was obviously suffering from an unknown pain. However, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan, who were standing beside Lin Yuan, looked calm and unruffled. Even the pursuers did not seem to have any abnormalities other than being chased around by the monster in front of them. Very obviously, this pain came from the water region that was suppressed by a mysterious force. Furthermore, it was targeted at them, the demonic beasts. Lin Yuan suddenly felt a buzzing sound in his ears. Almost subconsciously, he turned his head. Suddenly, he seemed to see a golden light coming from the depths of the water region. In the blink of an eye, it swept past Lin Yuan's line of sight and went straight to the monster. It was only at this moment that Lin Yuan heard clearly that the buzzing sound in his ears was actually Buddhist chanting. "See Protector Black Tortoise, this poor monk remembered your meritorious service in controlling the flood years ago. Therefore, this poor monk did not take your life. Therefore, this poor monk suppressed you in this water region and cleansed your body and mind with Buddhist scriptures day and night. Who would have thought that this poor monk's carelessness would allow this evil creature to escape? Amitabha, this poor monk has sinned, this poor monk has caused you to lose so many lives again." The golden light hovered above the monster's head. A gentle voice came from the golden light. The monster just waved its claws impatiently and said coldly, "I say, this monk is so annoying. I can become whatever I want. What does it have to do with you? Look at you, you have been dead for so many years. Your bones have rotted and only this Sarira is left. How dare you meddle in other people's business? Aren't you afraid that your soul will scatter and you will not enter the cycle of reincarnation?" The golden light smiled faintly and chanted again. He said in a deep voice, "Buddha says, if I don't enter hell, who will? If this poor monk's soul scatters, this poor monk can help you cross the sea of bitterness. This poor monk can save the common people from an unavoidable calamity." Sarira? Monk? These two keywords appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Although there were also Buddhist sects in Sky Martial Continent, their cultivation method was different from the Buddhist sects in his previous life. They cultivated the present life. No matter how strong a Buddhist cultivator was, after death, there would be no such thing as a Saraira. Only Buddhist disciples in his previous life would cultivate the afterlife and cultivate good karma. Only after a senior monk died would he leave behind something like a Saraira. The most important thing was that this monster and the Saraira were not talking in the common language of Sky Marshall Continent, but the language of Lin Yuan's previous life. Even if the syllables were a little strange, Lin Yuan could still understand the conversation between these two terrifying existences without using the spirit of all things. In comparison, the Sky Marshall Continent's cultivators were all at a loss. Could it be that this black tortoise and this Saraira were both from Earth? Those legendary existences had indeed descended to this world, left behind their inheritances, and even their bloodlines, and then left this world. Monthly tickets, full 80 tickets plus updates. Chapter 347. Humph, the monster snorted coldly and no longer bothered with the Saraira. Despite the golden light filling the sky and the Buddhist chanting, the monster showed no intention of stopping. Instead, its killing intent grew stronger and stronger. It even crashed into the crowd and began to slaughter the airborne realm cultivators who were unable to evade its attacks in a frenzy. The Saraira obviously did not have the ability to fight on its own. Otherwise, it would not have just been chanting in midair. Under such circumstances, the Saraira could only sigh slightly. Its chanting grew louder and louder. Lin Yuan's consciousness gradually became blurred under the chanting of the Buddhist chanting. It was as if there were countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas preaching to him. His eyelids grew heavier and heavier as they continued to droop. When he looked at the cultivators who forced him into a corner, Lin Yuan's eyes were no longer filled with hatred and fighting intent. Instead, he looked as calm as water, as if nothing in the world had anything to do with him. Wake up. Suddenly, the monster's loud and violent voice was also heard beside Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was startled and instantly woke up from his previous state of purity. He looked at the Saraira floating in midair with eyes full of horror. It was not that he did not have means similar to mental attacks. For example, he was able to do something similar with the Song of the World. However, Lin Yuan was at most able to increase his deterrence through the power of his words, making the creatures he faced fear him. However, in that instant, Lin Yuan was almost directly converted by the Saraira's chanting of the Buddhist chanting. And this was under the condition that the main target of the Saraira was the monster. This is between you and me. Don't involve outsiders. The monster spoke again and looked coldly at the Saraira, saying in a cold voice, although I can't destroy you, I can suppress you for 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, until the last remnant of your soul is destroyed. Faced with the monster's threat, the Saraira turned a deaf ear and said indifferently, "See, Guardian Black Tortoise, I will never watch you fall into the demonic path. If you continue to kill here, I will never leave." Lin Yuan vaguely guessed something at that point. Both the Saraira and the monster used to be powerful beings. They might even have been comrades who fought side by side. But what kind of terrifying existence would such an existence face? The eminent monk had perished, and the black tortoise had fallen to the demonic path. Between the two of them, one was imprisoned here by an unknown force, while the other had to stay here and cleanse the other's demonic heart with Buddhist scriptures day and night, helping the other maintain his consciousness. Lin Yuan even rejoiced. It was precisely because of the existence of this relic that this monster, which had evolved from the black tortoise, had not completely fallen into the demonic path and become a demonic beast that only knew how to kill. Otherwise, they would have been torn to shreds by this monster the moment they set foot in these waters. Chi, the monster sneered. Although it didn't give in, it stopped killing. It looked down at the shivering humans and said loudly, "If you leave my territory, I can let you go." Boom. Before the monster could finish speaking, a terrifying shockwave exploded with him as the center. Even the monster's huge body was pushed back 30 to 40 meters by this terrifying force. "We did it." A Heavenly Dipper realm fighter's face flashed with joy. He said in a deep voice, "Brothers, this monster took a hit from us. Even if it didn't die on the spot, it must have been seriously injured. Everyone, let's fight together. This monster's strength is so terrifying that its flesh and monster pill must be very valuable. It might even help us break through to the next realm. When his voice fell, although the Heavenly Dipper realm fighter's face showed joy, there was an extremely calm silence in the depths of his eyes. He had no intention of killing the monster at all. After going through a round of screening in the secret realm and being slaughtered by this monster, almost all of the cultivators who were still alive were at level 9 and 10 of the airborne realm. Many of the cultivators could even be said to be half a step into the Heavenly Dipper realm. If they were to use all of their means, they could even wrestle with real Heavenly Dipper realm fighters. One step further and they would be Heavenly Dipper realm fighters. Although none of these cultivators were fools, it was impossible to say that they could just stand by and do nothing when such a huge benefit was right in front of them. Therefore, even if they knew that the Heavenly Dipper realm fighter had spoken, they still could not help but be tempted. Soon, the first cultivator strode towards the monster. At that moment, the tide had yet to subside, and the sand that was stirred up had yet to fall. It was impossible to see what was ahead with the naked eye. However, the other 5 senses of the cultivators were still abnormally sharp, and they soon caught a strange sound of something tearing through the air. Whoosh! A scarlet snake's head passed through countless sand and appeared in front of the cultivators in an instant. It opened its bloody mouth and bit the first cultivator who moved, then swallowed him whole. Why is there another monster? Soon, some of the cultivators exclaimed. Their faces were filled with unconcealable fear. One monster was enough for them to deal with, and now there was another blood snake. Chen Guanshan's slightly furrowed brows relaxed, and there was even a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Previously, when the monster was ambushed by the Heavenly Dipper realm fighter, he secretly broke out in a cold sweat. After all, the monster was still on their side, and it could still suppress the pursuers. However, once the monster was defeated, the pursuers would attack them. In the face of an unknown monster, these cultivators might feel fear and be restrained. But in the face of Lin Yuan, He, and Shui Yan, these guys would not be merciful. They would even vent some of their previous shock and fear on them. But now, the situation had reversed once again. While Chen Guanshan was worried that this new monster would attack them, he also heaved a sigh of relief and a strange glint flashed in his eyes. He strode to Lin Yuan's side and said in a deep voice, "Previously, there was a rumor that you were the reincarnation of the ancient demon emperor. At first, I didn't believe it, even if you took out an Earth-class lower-grade physique training skill. After all, opportunity is something that everyone can have. You also didn't say that the physique training skill was an ancient inheritance, but now I believe it. Because experience can't be faked. You even know what a monster like that is." Chen Guanshan suddenly felt that it was not so unacceptable to be Lin Yuan's lackey. Was it possible for anyone to be the lackey of the ancient demon emperor? Monthly ticket of 100 plus updates. Chapter 348. What are you trying to say? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and said casually while sorting out the hidden injuries left in his heart by the Buddhist chanting. Chen Guanshan chuckled and asked without holding back, "I just want to ask if that black tortoise you mentioned can win against these guys who are blinded by greed?" The name Black Tortoise was very unfamiliar to the Tianwu continent, so when Chen Guanshan said it out loud, he still felt a bit awkward. However, that didn't stop him from expressing his thoughts. They had only just entered an unexplored area, and they already encountered this monster and a golden ball of light that spoke a language they didn't understand. Who knew how many more terrifying things there were in this secret realm? Can it win? I don't know. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. He narrowed his eyes and said, "You should be asking if these guys can still find a complete corpse after enraging the black tortoise." A person's name was like a tree's shadow. As one of the 4 sacred beasts, the black tortoise was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying existence. Even if the one in front of him was just a monster with the bloodline of the black tortoise, its strength and realm were still unfathomable. He, who was a level 1 mountain lord, used the active effect of the Eye of God to check the black tortoise's attributes 3 times, and the result was that he failed 3 times in a row. That meant that the black tortoise was at least 3 levels higher than him. Even if the black tortoise was a level 4 river lord, with the enhancement of the monster's physique and the bloodline of the sacred beasts, it was not in existence that 4 heavenly strength realm cultivators and a group of airborne realm cultivators who were cannon fodders could challenge. Boom! A loud noise was heard. The gravel that was sent flying and the turbulent water flow calmed down almost instantly. That blood snake that rushed out to kill wantonly retreated silently. When the dust settled and everyone saw the monster again, they all gasped and looked at each other. Some of the more cowardly ones even began to tremble at the legs and began to blame those heavenly strength realm cultivators for being blinded by greed and acting on their own initiative to attack that terrifying monster. Otherwise, they would have already left that dangerous area. The blood snake, which had chased countless cultivators until there was nowhere to run, was now coiled around the monster's shell. Everyone took a closer look at it and immediately caused them to gasp. That was not a blood snake at all. That was the tail of that monster. What the hell is that thing? An airborne realm cultivator asked while trembling. Monsters with 2 heads were not uncommon. Within the jurisdiction of the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas, there was a type of monster with a lower body that looked like a lizard, covered in green scales, and 9 snake heads. There was also the 2-headed gray eagle that Lin Yuan had fought before in the northern frontier. That was why monsters with several heads were not rare. However, it was the first time they saw something like that monster, which had a tortoise head on the front and a blood snake tail on the back. It was as if the 2 types of monsters were pieced together. The visual impact of such a monster was not something that common monsters could compare to. Even Chen Guanshan, who had been prepared for it, almost gasped. Eventually, he turned his eyes to Lin Yuan and began to think about where Lin Yuan came from. "Senior, if it's possible, let me take care of these people." Lin Yuan suddenly spoke in the language of his previous life. Although he had not spoken for more than a year, and his vocal organs were completely different from humans, Lin Yuan's standard Mandarin from his previous life still sounded like barbecued meat in his current life. It was not that Lin Yuan was greedy for the benefits that those humans could bring him. With his current level of cultivation as a mountain lord, only those 4 heavenly strength realm fighters could provide him with a certain amount of attribute points. Lin Yuan just did not want that black tortoise, which had already turned into a demon, to go on the path of killing again. Although the Saraira had almost converted Lin Yuan did not have much hatred towards the Saraira. On the contrary, he admired the Saraira's way of doing things. He had clearly died many years ago, but because he did not want this black tortoise to enter the Sky Martial continent and cause a storm of blood, he gave up on the chance of reincarnation and used Buddhist scriptures to cleanse this black tortoise's soul. Those who could refine Sarairas after death were not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry. They were all accomplished monks. Once an existence like him entered the cycle of reincarnation, even if he did not embark on the path of cultivation in his next life, he would still be a young master of a wealthy family, living a carefree life. Although Lin Yuan had not seen any demons and monsters in the Sky Martial continent, after consuming the dragon transformation root, Lin Yuan already possessed his own river Styx. Even if the river Styx was still very weak and could not be summoned. Can you do it? Although the monster did not have any ill intentions towards Lin Yuan, and even tried its best to protect Lin Yuan, this did not conflict with its respect for Lin Yuan. Even if Lin Yuan was at his peak, he was not a match for it, let alone the current Lin Yuan who was extremely weak. Junior said before that I only wish to rest in Senior's territory for a while. Once my injuries are healed, I will leave. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes swept across the faces of those cultivators who were so frightened that they did not dare to make a sound. He sneered, also, these people have been chasing Junior all the way. If I cannot personally take back my face, I am afraid that I will have a heart demon in the future. I hope Senior can help Junior this once. Lin Yuan did not know to what extent this black tortoise had turned into a demon, but he was sure that every time this black tortoise killed a little more, it would be a little further away from returning to normal. So what if it could never become the sea-suppressing black tortoise that the Saraira spoke of in its lifetime? At least right now, it still had its own consciousness. Lin Yuan did not know what this black tortoise and the Saraira had encountered back then, but since everyone was on the same side now, Lin Yuan did not wish for this black tortoise to fall deeper and deeper into the abyss because of some small matter on his body. The Saraira gave off a golden light and said in a deep voice, "Sea-suppressing black tortoise, look, this little friend is more sensible than you. You and I have known each other for so many years, how can I harm you? With you here, these little fellows will not harm this little black Jiao. I fear they will want to have 2 more legs and leave this ghastly place as soon as possible." The monster thought for a moment, and then a touch of sadness flashed through its eyes. It said in a deep voice, "Human, I will give you one last chance. If you get out of my territory now, I can let bygones be bygones. But if you want to stay, haha. Monthly ticket full 120 plus updates delivered." Chapter 349. The monster's words made the group of humans feel as if they had been pardoned. They all turned around and ran, as if they were afraid that the monster would go back on its words. After the pursuers scattered, the monster's gaze landed on Lin Yuan. It asked, "Since you know the language of the ancient demon court, it means that you and I are of the same origin. But why do I feel so unfamiliar with your bloodline? Which branch do you belong to?" Lin Yuan was speechless. Suddenly, the air quietened down. In Lin Yuan's previous life, Lin Yuan could have dug up the family tree and talked to the monster. But now, the water dragon bloodline in his body was given by the system. There was no clan behind him. How could he belong to any branch? Even if he was sure that the monster and the relic came from the mythical system of his previous life, those legends were still too far away from ordinary people. The so-called scholars had their own opinions. It seemed like there was a complete system, but strictly speaking, there was only a name of the god system. Even the authority of some gods was still being debated. Seeing that Lin Yuan was silent, the monster laughed dryly and said bitterly, "Since you don't want to say, then forget it. Anyway, my brain is getting worse. Even if you tell me, I might not be able to remember. I just thought that I saw the descendant of an old friend. That's why I asked." Lin Yuan's polite smile was a little awkward. He watched as the monster and the relic returned to the depths of the water. Lin Yuan exhaled a long breath of foul air. So, the ancient demon court really existed. Damn it. Lin Yuan was shocked. Although the ancient existences on the Tianwu continent did not appear, it did not mean that they did not exist. Just like the system said, there might not be many true dragons in the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. There might not be many of them, and there might not be any of them at all. Lin Yuan did not doubt that ever since he used the ancient demon court as a banner, some of the ancient powers had already seen him as a thorn in their side. On the other side, Yan Xingqi, who had passed through the door of the secret realm, broke a giant worm that was almost 300 meters long with his halberd. His gaze fell on the broken walls around him, and a look of contemplation appeared in his eyes. This damned place. Why was it randomly teleported? Without a map of this secret realm, there was nothing that could lead the way. Yan Xingqi was like a blind man crossing a river in this secret realm. He had no idea what to do next, or where he should go. Roar! 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 Beast roars could be heard one after another. Yan Xingqi raised his halberd impatiently, his eyes filled with coldness. The demon beasts in this underwater secret realm were like maggots. Even if he slaughtered a large number of them, there would still be a beast king that would gather more demon beasts to kill him. Even if it was useless every time, these demon beasts still wouldn't stop. In less than a day, the good impression that Yan Xingqi had for these demon beasts was quickly worn away. Right now, he only wanted to find that black snake as soon as possible. After confirming what he wanted to confirm, he would immediately leave this damned place and do what he needed to do. He did not want to waste time here with a group of beasts. Suddenly, Yan Xingqi's eyebrows twitched. Yan Xingqi's figure flashed and disappeared from where he was standing, leaving a long trench in the water. In an instant, he appeared in front of the group of demonic beasts that had gathered. In just one move, he knocked the leading demonic beast king to the ground. Without waiting for the other party to struggle, Yan Xingqi stepped on the demonic beast king's head. Under the terrifying difference in strength, the demonic beast king instantly gave up struggling and obediently closed its eyes to await its death. However, the death that it imagined did not come. The beast king opened its eyes and looked at the powerful human in confusion. A while ago, a large group of humans and a black snake entered this place. If you can find me, you can definitely find them. Tell me, where are they? Yan Xingqi had a kind smile on his face, even revealing 2 rows of white teeth. The demonic beasts in the secret territory were all like radars. No matter where he hid, those demonic beasts would quickly find him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hated these guys so much. They were all like psoriasis that he couldn't get rid of. Tell me, where are they, and I will let you go, understand? Yan Xingqi tried his best to resist the urge to stomp the Beast King to death and continue to speak with a kind tone. Even the weakest demon beast in the secret realm had the cultivation of the wisdom state. Therefore, Yan Xingqi was sure that these demon beasts had the ability to communicate. If they were just a group of guys who only knew how to kill, they would not have gathered such a large group of demon beasts to hunt him down. Moreover, after he controlled the Beast King, those demon beasts would not be stunned in place, afraid that they would provoke him and cause him to kill the Beast King. After a moment of silence, the Beast King pointed in a direction and said, "The outsiders you mentioned were in the silver-scaled fish's territory some time ago. We have strict rules here. I can't enter the silver-scaled fish's territory, so you can only go there yourself. Even if they aren't there, you can still get some information from the silver-scaled fish." Silver-scaled fish? Looking in the direction the Beast King pointed, Yan Xingqi nodded. Then, he stomped his foot heavily, sending the Beast King who was willing to cooperate with him to the underworld. Yan Xingqi waved his halberd, stirring up a large amount of water currents. His gaze fell on the demon beasts who were enraged by the death of the Beast King. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, and he said in a cold voice, "A bunch of trash, you can obviously communicate with me, but all of you shut up and chased after me. You really think I have a good temper? Now, the hunter and the prey have switched places." Previously, Yan Xingqi had thought of using his cultivation base to quickly patrol around this secret realm. However, Yan Xingqi could faintly sense a dangerous aura coming from several directions. Hence, he had to move very slowly. Along the way, he had slaughtered 2 to 3 demonic beasts. Only then did he meet a fellow who was willing to communicate with him. Now that he had obtained the information he wanted, those demonic beasts who had been chasing after him for a period of time would naturally have to suffer his revenge. The halberd danced, and the water currents surged. Countless demon beasts were torn to pieces under Yan Xingqi's slaughter, and a large amount of blood mist spread out. 10 minutes later, Yan Xingqi finished off the last secret realm demon beast with his halberd. Only then did he stop his slaughter. Standing on the spot, he took 2 deep breaths, and the redness on his face faded a little. He sighed and said, "Looks like I am really getting old. Such a small amount of exercise, even if I were 20 years younger, it would not even be considered a warm-up. Now, I am actually starting to pant. If there are more, I will continue to add more chapters." Now that there are no more chapters, the author is trying his best to write. Chapter 350. 3 days had passed since Lin Yuan recovered from his weakened state. In these 3 days, there were cultivators standing at the edge of this water area every day, looking at Lin Yuan from afar. These people had already offended Lin Yuan. Naturally, they didn't want Lin Yuan to leave this secret realm alive. So every day, they hoped that Lin Yuan would leave this dangerous water area as soon as possible. Even if he didn't want to enter a place that had been explored, he should at least enter another unexplored water area, right? Without that monster as a foreign aid, although Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan weren't easy to deal with, they weren't put in the eyes of the 4 Heaven Dipper realm experts. Even if there was a certain gap in strength between the two sides, they always had a certain advantage when fighting 4 against 2. It's almost time to end it. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan, who were meditating, were shocked. Their eyes fell on Lin Yuan at the same time. They didn't have a good time during this period. In order to explore the secret realm, they prepared enough materials. However, Lin Yuan also explained the situation to them later, so they knew what the monster was. Things like becoming a demon were not rare in the Tianwu continent. It was impossible for existences like Shui Yan and Chen Guanshan to not have seen the purgatory beasts. Even if they didn't encounter it, once a purgatory beasts appeared in the nearby area, they would be recruited as a fighting force to participate in the battle. So in their eyes, that monster was an existence that was about to become a purgatory beasts and was still struggling. They were worried these 2 days that the monster couldn't keep its mind and directly became a purgatory beasts. Then, it would directly lose its mind and attack them. Originally, the monster's strength was already above them. Once it became a purgatory beasts, its strength would increase by leaps and bounds. At that time, if they joined forces to fight against it, they might end up being killed in an instant. Now that Lin Yuan looked like he had recovered, Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan suddenly became excited. If they continued to stay in this damned place, they might drive themselves crazy first. Carry me to that water area. Lin Yuan and the 2 of them looked at each other and exhorted softly. At this time, if Lin Yuan continued to go deeper into the waters, the pursuers would certainly not dare to follow him. Moreover, Lin Yuan did not have the courage to explore deeper. This time, he encountered a black tortoise that had turned into a demon. There was also a Saraira here to restrain it and prevent it from completely losing its mind. Therefore, this was Lin Yuan's luck. However, something like luck could be used, but one could never rely on it. This was because no one knew if good luck would favor them next time. However, if Lin Yuan were to return to the waters they had explored, there was no way those cultivators wouldn't have guessed that Lin Yuan had already recovered, given how astute those cultivators were. Even though it took half a month for Lin Yuan to recover among the dragon-blooded monsters they had captured in the past, they would still choose to send some airborne realm cultivators to test Lin Yuan out of safety concerns. They might not even show their faces. However, if Shui Yan and Chen Guanshan were to carry Lin Yuan to another unexplored water area, they might still not be able to avoid being tested by the monsters. However, it was certain that all 4 heavenly strength realm cultivators would show up. After all, monsters were very sensitive to their own territories. Lin Yuan had used the language of Earth to communicate with the monster and the Saraira. Naturally, they did not know the specific content. However, judging from Lin Yuan's behavior for the past 2 days, they guessed that the terrifying monster did not intend to let Lin Yuan set foot in its territory. Therefore, at this time, it was completely reasonable for Lin Yuan to take the risk to go through other unknown water areas and then achieve his goal of staying away from them. Okay. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan looked at each other and both of them became alert. As usual, one of them lifted Lin Yuan and the other carried him by his tail and strode to another unknown water area. In fact, it could not be said that it was unknown. After Lin Yuan's Eye of God passive effect was activated, he could directly see the situation in that water area. After all, not all monsters had the ability like the black tortoise and the Saraira, who could use their own aura to block the exploration of the Eye of God. Therefore, Lin Yuan was sure that the unexplored water area next door was a dead land. Other than the remains of some monsters, Lin Yuan did not see any life at all. Obviously, it had been abandoned for a long time. However, these sects and forces only wanted to get the treasures in the central palace and did not want to continue to explore this secret realm. After all, they had not eaten the things in front of them. How could they be in the mood to pile up a more detailed map with their lives? As soon as Lin Yuan moved, the cultivators, who had been eager for a long time, also began to move. In order to hunt down Lin Yuan, they now only had 4 Heavenly Dipper realm cultivators and 21 airborne realm cultivators left. Compared to the hundreds of people when they first entered the secret realm, it could be said that it was very bleak. However, this also made them more determined to kill Lin Yuan here. Otherwise, once Lin Yuan left the secret realm, their losses would be more than what they had now. This was especially true for the major sects and forces. The conflict between the two sides was already on the verge of erupting. It was only because the two sides restrained their temper that they did not directly fight. This time, after falling out with each other, Lin Yuan would make a move on these sects and forces as soon as he left the secret realm. A group of 25 people quickly followed Lin Yuan's group into the new unknown water area. Most of them already had a certain understanding of the rules of this place. Different groups were divided into different territories. Unless it was time to hunt, these monsters would not take half a step out of the minefield. The noon hunting time had just passed. Even if the monster wanted to continue to help Lin Yuan, it would not step out of its own territory. Black Snake, this time, you're dead. The Heavenly Dipper Realm cultivator who had been shouting at Lin Yuan before secretly clenched his fists. A gloomy look flashed in his eyes. He felt that he had been humiliated in front of Lin Yuan several times in a row. This made him, who came from a superclass sect, resentful of Lin Yuan in his heart. After all, it could be said that he was almost surrounded by thousands of people since he was a child. Even some of the young masters of the big families had to smile and talk to him submissively when they saw him. However, this black snake had humiliated him several times in a row, which was tantamount to giving him several loud slaps in the face. Chapter 351. After entering this desolate water area, the group of cultivators trembled in fear. After all, the scene of the monster slaughtering everyone 2 days ago was still vivid in their minds. Now that they had stepped into an unfamiliar water area again, even if everyone present had decent combat strength, they were on high alert at this moment, afraid that another monster would suddenly jump out from the side. However, after walking for 700 to 800 meters, other than the traces left by Lin Yuan and his group on the white sand, they didn't see any traces of living creatures at all. They only saw pieces of decaying beast bones from time to time, as if there had been no life here for a long time. After a moment, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Black Snake." Only then did everyone recover from their alert state, and they all cast their gazes forward. At this moment, Lin Yuan didn't have the slightest weak posture of being carried by people at all. Instead, he was coiled up and coldly sizing up a group of cultivators with strong fighting spirit. Chen Guanshan crossed his arms in front of his chest and stood on the left side of Lin Yuan. Threads that couldn't be seen by the naked eye were floating around Chen Guanshan, while on the right side of Lin Yuan, there was a cold expression on his face. After taking off his shirt, he revealed the iron rings that covered his arms. Thump. The 4 Heaven Dipper realm powerhouses walking at the front were shocked at the same time, and they all looked at Lin Yuan with horror in their eyes. This black snake has actually recovered. Thinking back to the day when Lin Yuan instantly killed a Heaven Dipper realm powerhouse who was on the same level as them, these 4 people's faces were filled with horror at the same time. However, soon, a Heaven Dipper realm powerhouse regained his composure and sneered, "It's only been 2 days. Even if this black snake can really recover from its weakened state, can it still perfectly control its own power? It's deliberately mystifying to scare us away." Oh. Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. In the next moment, a ferocious water dragon had condensed beside Lin Yuan. Seeing that Lin Yuan could really mobilize his own power, the 4 Heaven Dipper realm cultivators were shocked again. The scene of Lin Yuan instantly killing a Heaven Dipper realm cultivator was still vivid in their minds. They didn't want to be the unlucky ones. The mockery in Lin Yuan's eyes turned into a sneer as he said with a dark face, "What? This king was able to transform into a flood dragon thanks to the opportunity that you guys found for him. Now that this king has recovered to his peak state, don't you guys want to come and see how good this king is?" A Heaven Dipper realm expert's eyes burned with fighting spirit as he growled, "Everyone, things have come to this point. Even if we are willing to take a step back, this black snake will never let us go." We can't escape death anyway. Let's fight. It was as if the surrounding water had received an order from a king. They turned into water swords and rushed towards Lin Yuan. Just this? Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with ridicule. In the next moment, the Water King launched those swords, but they collapsed before they could get close to Lin Yuan. As a water-type monster, Lin Yuan could see at a glance that the other party's method was just a feint. It condensed some water to attack the enemy in an instant. There was no need to guide and control at all. Therefore, even if there was a certain gap between the two sides, Lin Yuan could only temporarily affect the opponent's ability to control water, but Lin Yuan could make it collapse directly. This, the Heaven Dipper realm expert who controlled water, changed his face. He knew that Lin Yuan was a water-type monster, but he didn't expect Lin Yuan's ability to control water to be so strong that his probing attack instantly turned into nothingness. If it was just this, he didn't intend to rely on these methods to test the opponent's strength. However, the moment Lin Yuan made his move, he suddenly felt that the surrounding water spirit power was directly disconnected from him. What kind of absurd thing is this? He, a Heaven Dipper realm water cultivator, actually lost the ability to control water under the water. This black snake is different. I, the Heaven Dipper realm expert who controlled water, just opened his mouth. Another Heaven Dipper realm expert narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice, "It seems that our Black Water Dragon King has awakened an incredible ability after transforming into a flood dragon. But it doesn't matter, its ability can't be effective forever. You step aside for the time being, I will deal with this black snake." As his voice fell, the Heaven Dipper realm expert's body crackled and thunder surged continuously. His whole person looked like he was wearing a purple battle suit. Thunder-type cultivator. The expression on Shui Yan's face changed slightly. There were many schools of thought among cultivators. Among them, the 5 elements were the most common. In a place like the Northern Territory, cultivators of the water, wood, and earth elements were more common. After all, the cultivation speed of cultivators in different environments would also be different. But aside from the common 5 elements, there were also some rare special elements. For example, the lightning element was known as the element with the most powerful and violent attacks among the special elements. There was a rumor in the northern frontier that the first-rate sect, the Flying Sun Pavilion, had a thunder technique that was passed down from ancient times. Those who weren't talented couldn't cultivate it. But rumors were just rumors. Although the Flying Sun Pavilion didn't refute the rumor, they understood the principle of a tall tree attracting the wind. So, the Flying Sun Pavilion had never revealed any traces of thunder technique. It was only until now that the Heaven Dipper realm expert from the Flying Sun Pavilion revealed his thunder technique. In the blink of an eye, the Heaven Dipper realm expert from the Flying Sun Pavilion had already rushed over. His fists were wrapped in lightning as he went straight for Lin Yuan's face. The surging electric current hit his face, and even Lin Yuan felt suffocated. Tut! Another Heaven Dipper realm cultivator growled. A milky white sound wave actually appeared and went straight for Lin Yuan's back. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yuan fell into a situation where he was attacked from the front and back after defeating the Heaven Dipper realm expert who could control water. Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan's expressions changed slightly. They moved almost at the same time, wanting to block one side for Lin Yuan. However, the airborne realm cultivators around them also moved quickly and surrounded the two. The Heaven Dipper realm expert who could control water was right. Things had already come to this point. Even if they were willing to let Lin Yuan go now, once Lin Yuan left this secret realm, he wouldn't let them and the forces behind them go. Therefore, from the moment they decided to stand in a team, only one side could survive between them and Lin Yuan. Therefore, there was no reason for them to retreat now that they had started fighting. Even if they didn't have the guts to fight Lin Yuan, they wouldn't let Chen Guanshan and Shui Yan interfere in the matter of 4 Heaven Dipper realm experts surrounding Lin Yuan. Keep moving forward if you don't want to die. Chen Guanshan's eyes were red. He didn't hold back at all with the scimitar in his hand, which was his trump card. He directly plunged it into the crowd and instantly killed 8 late-stage airborne realm cultivators. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.